And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today, Wednesday, December 12th, 2012. That's 12/12/12. I'm Doug Hagmann. I'm the host, along with my son, Joe Hagmann, co-host. Folks, you're about to hear 3 hours of unbiased and uncensored news, analysis, and information that you need to know in these perilous times. And ladies and gentlemen, we broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on the internet at HomelandSecurityUS.com. That's HomelandSecurityUS.com. And you can also watch us as well as we simulcast in high-definition video on the Christians United Broadcasting Network. We want to thank Troy for everything he does with the Christians United Broadcasting Network and simulcasting us as well, and the AM stations that have choose to pick us up.
The video is dark tonight. We had some technical difficulties. We had to replace some cords because for a minute there we didn't think we had working equipment.
Well, we didn't actually. We had a faulty cord, which I'm not sure how that happens. But folks, we want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for your belief and trust in us as we walk through this minefield of current events together. And you know what? We've got a great show planned for you tonight. In a few moments, Pastor Lindsey Williams will be joining us.
Yeah.
But before we make contact with him, Joe, we got some news, some headlines here. Let's just touch on a couple of headlines of importance. And folks, we're not sure exactly how long Pastor Williams is going to be with us. He's going to be joining us here in a few moments. So we don't know if it's going to be for an hour or 2 hours. We just don't know. So let's just touch a couple of the headlines, and then we will come back to them following Pastor Williams' appearance.
All right. A few things. First of all, in Syria, missiles have been fired. Syria fires Scud missiles at insurgents, says the USA. That is part of the ongoing battle and conflict we have seen in the Middle East, part of the reorganization of leadership. But more importantly here, the North Korea launch from the other day, the shuttle is tumbling out of control.
Not shuttle, but the satellite.
The satellite, I'm sorry, yes. The satellite, they say, the object that North Korea sent into space on Wednesday appears to be tumbling out of control as it orbits the Earth, U.S. officials told NBC. They say that part of it fell in, two parts fell. One part fell in the Yellow Sea, the second part in the Philippine Sea. And
I got to tell you, you have to wear a hard hat when you're out there walking with all the space junk that falls.
More importantly, in a statement, the White House said the rocket launch was a highly provocative act that threatened the regional security and violates UN resolutions. The United Nations Security Council on Wednesday considered the launch, calling it a clear violation of UN resolutions. A spokesman for the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said he deplores the launch. Also, there is a headline on the Drudge Report here. I did not read it, but it says, U.S. hesitant in condemning North Korean launch.
Wow. Well,
this is the Obama administration is drawing no red line for North Korea after a successful long-range rocket test, tempering the public condemnation to avoid raising tensions or possibly rewarding the reclusive communist nation with too much time in the global spotlight. But either way, the thing is coming down a crashing, but more on that probably another day. This story I want to hit because it is important. It goes to the where we are as a society, the crazy things that are happening. Father carves pentagram into son on 12/12/12. A Richland Hills man has been arrested and charged with assaulting his son after telling a 911 operator he carved a pentagram into his 6-year-old son's back. Just after midnight Wednesday, officers were dispatched to the home of the 3700 block of Ruth Road after the boy's father, identified by police as Brent Troy Bartell, called 911 and said, "I shed some innocent blood." When the dispatcher asked what the men meant by that, he replied, "I inscribed a pentagram on my son." The dispatcher went on to ask why, and the man said, "It is a holy day." Just absolutely terrifying behavior, satanic behavior. What would possess a man to do this to his son? The kid is going to be okay. Box cutters were used, and I can only imagine what is wrong with this person. What I want to know what the motive was, why he would do this. If he was normal before he did this, if there were signs leading up to him being a crazy, what would provoke a man to do such a thing? And I'm going to...
Well, look, folks, weird things do happen, and I can't explain it. Boy, and we do have a lot of news to talk about. But while we are getting Pastor Lindsey Williams on the phone, I just want to talk about one thing here real quick. And Joe's bringing up the pastor. I had spoken to a couple of individuals about our current economic situation, about where we find ourselves, and I think, I did that on there. So, we got sound effects and everything, but I'm going to keep talking. We as Americans realize.
Thank you for calling. This is Lindsey Williams. I do want to talk with you, but I am on the phone at this time. Please leave your name and your phone.
And I cut him off there.
How's this for professionalism, folks? I mean, this is live radio.
Yeah, really, that's funny. We'll try him again in a second.
Well, I do want to, like I said, I want to talk to you about this. Yeah, I think we as Americans, when we look at the economy and where we're at with things, we realize the utter contempt which the network of our leaders have for us as ordinary people. Human beings, we're being treated like animals. We're being treated like sheep, like cattle. We're en masse as helpless puppets on an international global chessboard where the giants of economic and political power subject us to wars, revolution, civil strife, confiscation, harassment, subversion, surveillance, indoctrination. I mean, you name it, manipulation, and outright lies and deception, just as it suits them, as it suits their fancy. And that's fine. And I'm going to talk through the rings. And you've seen where the globalists...
Good evening. This is Lindsey Williams.
Hi, Lindsey. Pastor Williams, hold on just 1 second here. You are live on the air. I'm just going through one thing, and we're going to bring you on here.
Thank you.
All right, sir. But as Americans, we do realize the globalists have utter contempt for us, and we are being treated as cattle, as sheep, as helpless puppets, and we are pawns on the international chessboard where the giants of economic and political power subject us to their wars, to their revolutions, to civil strife, to everything you can think of, everything bad, to surveillance, to economic subversion. And this is going to be a topic which you're going to be talking about tonight. They're subjecting us to forced debt creation, which is something Pastor Williams, when we bring him on, is going to be talking about. They're subjecting us to economic strife like we've never seen in the history of the United States.
Economic slavery.
Economic slavery, that's right. The mass of the world's humanity is look, we have the power. There's a latency of power in man, in the free man, that terrorizes the globalist elite, the establishment. And there's the constant fear that the masses might awaken and frustrate their schemes, their plots, their plans, especially where they have acquired an education and accumulated a little bit of property and some knowledge. Knowledge is the key, though, folks. Knowledge is the key. And when we talk about the economic strife that we are facing and the unprecedented debt that we have, and the demonic, satanic agenda of some of the globalists out there, the pawns that we are, it immediately makes us think of people who we can contact and people who we can talk with to bring on the air to help you, our listeners, to help us understand exactly what's going on. And, as our program reaches now 41 countries, and we've celebrated our 200th show and our now download over 2 million downloads of our broadcasts, archive broadcasts, we can't think of a better person to bring on than Pastor Lindsey Williams. And Lindsey Williams, folks, in case you don't know, Pastor Williams is an ordained Baptist minister. He went to Alaska back in 1970 as a missionary, and while there he found out about the Trans-Alaska oil pipeline, and he got involved as a volunteer pastor, as a volunteer chaplain. And because of his love for the United States and concern for the spiritual welfare of the 25,000 plus workers on the pipeline, Pastor Williams volunteered to serve as chaplain with the full support of the pipeline company itself. And it was there, under those circumstances, that Pastor Lindsey Williams had rubbed shoulders with some of the most powerful, some of the most elite people in the world. And because of his time there, and because of the friendships and camaraderie formed while there, Pastor Williams had extended the friendships long past his duty there and kept up the lines of information. And folks, you've heard him on Alex Jones. You've heard him in numerous radio programs. And we are so proud, very, very proud, to have with us on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, Pastor Lindsey Williams. Pastor Williams, welcome to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Joe and Doug, it is a privilege to be with you tonight. Thank you so very much for allowing me to be on your show. I think this is, the second opportunity that I've had the privilege of being with you.
You know what? I think you and I were back to back on Alex Jones. I don't think I don't think you've been on our program before, but
yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so. It could have been somewhere else, Pastor. But God bless you for coming on. And I know, folks, and Pastor, I know you've got some information after the election, and this is what caught my eye. After the election, you came into some information, and because of the information that you came into, it was so heavy. And I heard you talk about this with Alex Jones, that you created a 3-hour and 29-minute DVD, and from that, another 2-hour and 50 minutes DVD. The first DVD is called The Next 4 Years, and the other one is about how to survive the next 4 years. And those are available via your website, lindseywilliams.net. And, of course, we'll be talking about that later. But I just want to thank you for sharing the information you've learned since the election to help all of us, the average guys, the average people out there. I want to thank you for helping us. And, once again, just welcome to our show.
Well, if this is right. I guess the first opportunity I've had to be it. That means I have a lot of new friends out there tonight, for goodness sakes, people I've never met before. So thank you for giving some background. And you're right. I've been the pastor of a church for 12 years. I went to Alaska and was offered by the Alaska Pipeline Service Company, which, of course, is the big oil company's 9 majors, was offered executive status and was asked and invited to sit in their board meetings. So as a result, that was many years ago, I made friends with some of the people that I lived with the people that you hear about in the World Bank, the IMF, the top oil company officials of the world. I was on their pipeline. They were not coming to my church. I sat across the dinner table from them, lived in the dorms with them when they came to Prudhoe Bay. And if you have ever doubted that there is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world, don't doubt it anymore. They definitely do exist, I know. I lived with them for 3 years' time. And as a result of this, kept in touch with some of these people over these past 37 years. They are now in their 70s and 80s. They're retired. And from time to time, they will tell me things that you would never know unless you knew people who behind closed doors make decisions. They control the president. They control the country. They control Congress. They control OPEC, and the Arabs tell them what they'll give them for a barrel of oil on any given day. They control the currencies of the world. These people positively do exist. And fortunately, by the providence of God, and that's the only way it could have happened, because there's no other way that a little insignificant unknown missionary could have been invited to sit with the elite of the world except by the providence of God. And because of that, I think it's likewise the providence of God that I have the privilege of being on your show tonight so that I can tell you what has just been told to me. Just after the presidential election, I knew if there was anyone who knew what was going to happen for the next 4 years, that it would be this individual who knows everything that goes on behind closed doors. And I called on the phone, I sent an email, and I said, what can we expect over the next 4 years? The response that I got and the number of emails that I received after that, the only way I know to describe it is to say the most startling information that any person has ever heard since the founding of the United States of America. And I don't apologize at all for making such a drastic statement, because what you are going to face over the next 4 years, you need to be aware of. Now, there were given to me 10 agendas that the American people will face. I will attempt tonight, if I can, to give those one after the other and try to explain them to you. Some of these things are encouraging, by the way. Not everything you're going to hear tonight is doom and gloom. I'll tell you exactly what you're going to have happen and what's going to be before you. The first one, for instance, you will find quite encouraging. In fact, it'll put a smile on your face. The elite do not want a financial collapse yet. Now, I know that may sound startling to some of you. Greece is in the trouble it's in. Europe and France and Italy and other places are in major, major problems. The United States of America has got a physical cliff, and that's all you hear today is we're going to have a collapse if they don't meet the needs of the physical cliff. And the Federal Reserve now is printing money out of thin air, $40 billion of it every month. And the way things look, you'd say, oh, my goodness, we might just have a collapse of the dollar. We might have bank closures most of the day. No. The elite do not want a financial collapse yet. You heard me say yet. It is going to happen. It's inevitable. There's no way with $16 trillion of national debt that we can get around it. It is going to take place. But when? So I'm going to really, based on what I'm hearing from my friend, I want to project something. I predict that you are not going to see a financial collapse. Or I'll put it this way. I don't want to use the word financial collapse. We are not going to see a catastrophic event take place with the American dollar for at least 2 years.
Really?
Now, please, hear me correctly. 2 years, maybe 3 years. It could go up into the fourth year of this administration, but it is going to happen. And I'll tell you how it's going to be brought down. They've already told me. Numbers of months ago, I was told how that I can know a few months in advance before the dollar collapses. You have bank closures, may even have a bank holiday. And I was told how to know when it's going to happen. They gave me a formula. And they said, Chaplain, we're going to use the derivative market to bring it down. And all the currencies of the world, by the way, we brought down at the same time. It's not just America. I have oftentimes, being on shows across America, Canadians will call in, and sometimes people from other countries when they have call-ins on talk shows. And invariably they say, oh, is Canada going to be affected as much as the United States of America? I said, yes, positively. All of the currencies of the world, in order for the new world order to be brought in the way that they want it to be brought in, they must bring down every currency in the world in order to bring in their new world currency under the auspices of the new world order. So they're going to do it They'll collapse the derivative market at a certain point, but not yet. And this is what's so surprising. You still have a dollar that is fairly strong. Take advantage of it. Everything that you need to do in the way of preparation, do it right now. Now, let me tell you why they do not want a collapse of either the dollar or the currencies of the world yet. Now, many of you thought when Greece declared, well, for all practical purposes, declared bankruptcy, many of you financial newsletters will say, oh, the euro is going to collapse and it'll bring the dollar down. And I went to my elite friend, that was back, oh my goodness, 7, 8, 10 months ago. And I said, can we expect a collapse of the American dollar in the next month? He just laughed on the phone. And he said, Chaplain, no, there's not going to be a collapse of the American dollar for the next 3 months at least. Well, I'd go back to him after that, and this kept going on for about a year's time. And finally, at this point, I became knowledgeable of what was going to happen. Why do they not want a financial collapse yet? This brings me to the second agenda. The elite, over the next 4 years' time, plan to forced debt creation. Are you catching this? Please. This is so important to your dinner table and to the welfare of your home. And I'm trying to help you folks. If you will be willing to believe what these people have told me, and a moment ago you were saying some of my past, and you're right. Over the past 37 years that I've been in touch with these people, never one time have they ever told me anything that it didn't happen exactly as they said it, because it's already planned behind closed doors. They know what's going to happen. You are going to see over the next 4 years forced debt creation. Let me try to explain this. Every country in the world, every state in America, every city, every county, every individual in America, the elite want you to be in such horrible debt that when they get ready to bring in their new currency, you'll be glad to accept it. You'll be glad to give up your constitution. You will welcome a change, but the kind of change they want instead. Forced debt creation. Today they have convinced the average high school graduate that the only way that they can ever go to college is get a student loan. Yeah. Right. I mean, all this is intentional. This is the mindset that they have established. Now, when I went to college years ago, America was still fairly free. Of course, that's been numbers of years ago. I worked my way through college. I bagged groceries. I worked for Avis driving automobiles. I did everything in my life. I worked my way through 7 years, got a bachelor's degree, came out, and the world was in great shape back then. Today, they have convinced the high school graduate, you've got to go and get a student loan. And they know when that student comes out of college, there is no place he's going to get a job. They know that.
Exactly.
Our industry has been moved away to China and India and Mexico, and they know that student will be flipping burgers. Well, did you hear it today? Yeah, today. I hope you. I very seldom. I don't listen to the news much, but I caught this today, and I am still sitting here, literally appalled. Today, the 12th day of the 12th month of 2012, Mr. Obama announced today that when a student graduates from college, if that student will go to work for the federal government and will promise to work for the federal government for 2 years, that they plan to forgive that student loan. That today.
Wow.
You realize what socialism this is? Yeah, that was announced today. That's part of the fiscal cliff package. You can't imagine what's going to be in this fiscal cliff. It is the hype. It is the biggest smoke screen and sham that you've ever heard of in your life. All they talk about is taxing the rich, and that is only a distraction from the real what's going to happen to you as the middle class of America. And they are setting up this country for a socialistic regime that is going to be. Now, they want that student to go to work for the federal government, and they know that they've got them right where they want them. For the rest of their life, they'll probably stay right there and work for the government. Now, suppose they can get nearly every college student coming out of college to do that from this point on. Do you realize what a socialistic system will have? Everybody will work for the system. Everybody will work for the government. Now, let me give you another one. This physical cliff, I just sit here and literally laugh. This physical cliff is a part of debt creation. Now, please, try to understand this. It's so important to your survival. $6.5 billion is spent by the federal government every day.
Wow.
Every day. The physical cliff is a hype in order to do something to the middle class of America. Did you catch that? The middle class America, never mind the rich. Now, I lived with the rich. I lived with them for 3 years. I stayed in the same dorms with them on America's oil field up at Prudhoe Bay. I sat across the dinner table from them. They were not in my church. I was on their oil field. And I had an opportunity to analyze them one-on-one. And what's happened, the rich already have their fortunes protected, folks. You know, the average person doesn't have the slightest idea. They have their money in the Cayman Islands. They've got it in Liechtenstein. They've got it in the Turks and Caicos. They've got it in Belize. They have hidden their money all over the world, and you are not going to tax the rich. But you know who they are going to tax? You mark my word. Out of this physical cliff fiasco and charade is going to come the biggest tax that the middle class of America has ever had placed on them. And I was told that one of the agendas of the elite is they're going to tax the middle class of America into oblivion. Now, I don't know what they're going to call it. It's already in the works. They've already talked about it behind closed doors. Do you realize today, I don't know what's so unusual about today, 12 with 12, but today they announced it. Again, I'm having trouble believing all the things I've heard today. The day they announced that the government is going to mandate IRAs to private employers. Why? They want to get their hands on the IRAs. They know there's trillions of dollars there. And they know if the government can take them over, that it will help them spend and spend and spend all of your money as well as theirs, well, the money that you put into taxes. Today, announced the possibility of government-mandated IRAs as a part of the fiscal cliff package. Middle class, you are going to be taxed into oblivion. I'll give you a few names. You watch and see if one of these doesn't come out after this fiscal cliff thing. Marginal minimum tax, alternative minimum tax, national sales tax. You are going to see some tax come out of this for the middle class. Never mind the rich. That's only a distraction. I'll tell you one that you already have. It was mandated by the Supreme Court just a few weeks ago. Obamacare has been called a tax. Now, wait a minute. When you went to get a hospitalization policy or a health care policy from one of the suppliers today, or you bought a life insurance policy, what did you pay? You paid a premium, not a tax. A premium.
That's right.
What are they calling Obamacare? They're calling it tax. Why? They knew they couldn't get by with forcing you into paying a premium because it was unconstitutional. So they persuaded the Supreme Court to call it a tax. Did you hear what happened today? Today is so significant. I've written all these notes down since I got up this morning. Today, Obama announced that, well, Obamacare, written back in the backside somewhere, no congressman has ever read it yet. Back there, they have the right, and it came out today, they're going to add on $63 every month. Folks, this is getting to be such a charade. It's almost unbelievable. Not only the Obamacare tax that the Supreme Court said you have to pay beginning approximately a year from now, they are going to tack on an additional $63 per month for every person because of pre-existing conditions. Mm-hmm. Now, how many more things are hidden? How many more things are hidden back in the Obamacare legislation that nobody has dug into yet and know what it is? This is an excuse and a method of creating massive debt on every person in the middle class of America. You heard it. It was 2 days ago, I think it was.
Yeah.
Walmart came out and said, we can't do it. Walmart said, stack them high, sell them cheap, but it just won't work for us to pay Obamacare. And in the Obamacare legislation, it states that anyone who works less than 30 hours is part-time employment. And Walmart said, we can't pay it. We can't pay Obamacare tax. We are going, everybody that is not management personnel, Walmart plans, now this is America's largest retail employer, and Walmart says we're going to cut every person except management personnel only. We're cutting them all back to 30 hours, less than 30 hours per week. Tell me anybody that can possibly afford an apartment or a house payment and gas in the gas tank and food and clothes and still work less than 30 hours a week. You can't do it.
There's no way.
You realize that this is a part of what my elite friend told me. Folks, you are going to be taxed into oblivion as the middle class of America, and it's already planned. They want you there. They want to get you to the place that when your children are crying, you'll say, listen, I'll do anything. Just give me a new currency. I'll give up my Constitution. Just give me some relief from all of this that the congressmen and politicians have done. Sure, they have. They've been the biggest traitors in the world. But they also realize what's happening, and every one of them are paid off by the elite. And you mark my words, the agenda, one of the agendas of the elite, is forced debt creation over these next 4 years. Well, I've only gotten into 3 of them here so far.
Wow.
I don't know. Either one of you need to step in for a moment before I go any further?
Well, Joe, go ahead, Joe.
No, I just want to say something. I've heard you on the Alex Jones show many times, and you've always said that it's not going to be a problem of lack of food on the shelves. The problem will be the inability of people to afford that food. And this is reinforcing what you were stating earlier.
And Chaplain, you've been saying this now for a number of years. It's coming to pass right now before our very eyes. I don't know how anyone can question this. The target is the middle class. We're going to be taxed to oblivion. No one can work under 30 hours and pay mortgage payment, car payment.
No.
It's just not going to. I mean, you could work 3 30-hour-a-week jobs perhaps and get by, maybe. But the target, indeed, what you're saying, though, the target's the middle class. And what you're saying, if I hear you right, Pastor, what you're saying is the collapse of the dollar is not yet ready because the elite aren't ready because they're not done with us yet. They're not done sucking all the money out of us yet. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's correct. Back about 3 years ago, it was the first time you heard me say this on a talk show. And I'd been on the phone with one of my friends one day, and he said, Chaplain, there's not going to be any shortage of food and water in the grocery store shelves. Now, you were hearing back in those days, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, all the survivalists were saying, oh, we're going to have a shortage of bread, we're going to have a shortage of wheat, we're going to have a shortage of food. Well, I was sorry to have to disagree with them, and some of them are my very close friends that own businesses for survival preparedness. And I came back and I said, no, there is not going to be a shortage of food or water on the grocery store shelves. But I said, you may go hungry. And at the time I wondered, what? And I said, what do you mean? He said, Chaplain, the purchasing power of your dollar is going to depreciate so much that you will have the food and the water. He said, the food will be on the grocery store shelves. They said, we can bring that in from anywhere in the world. He said, if there's a problem with agriculture in Florida, we bring it from somewhere else. If California has a failure or a problem, we can fly it in or bring it in by ship from anywhere. He said, there's not going to be any shortage. Well, that was 3 years ago, and some of the people said, you're crazy. But it's happened. 3 years have gone by, and the grocery store shelves are still full. Produce department is still there. Plenty of water on the grocery store shelves. But your dollar is diminishing in its purchasing power so much every month that it's going to get to the place that you, one of these days, will go hungry, even though there's plenty of food and water on the grocery store shelves. I want to give you a formula. This brings me down to the next agenda of the elite. I want to give you what I'm going to call devaluation formula. Now, again, I am begging you to please listen to my elite friend and hear what they're saying. I am not trying in any way to cause you. I don't want to cause you fear, and I positively don't want you to lose sleep over this at night. I am trying to inform you so that you can take action and save yourself great heartache. And again, as I said earlier in the program, I feel so honored that years ago God would allow me, by His providence, to know some of these people, so that over these years I've been able to save many, many people great heartache. Now let me give you a devaluation formula. And using this, after I finish, I want you to take your calculator right there in your house. You don't have to have me to do this for you. I'm going to give you the formula. You go from there. You take the calculator right there at your house, and you figure, based on this devaluation formula, how long it will be that you can maintain the lifestyle that you have right now without making a drastic change. Okay, here we go. Put down 3%. Right at the top, put down 3%. That's what your currency is devaluing every day because of what the Federal Reserve did on September the 13th of 2012. You heard Mr. Bernanke make the statement. You didn't understand what he was saying maybe, but you heard him make the statement. He said the Federal Reserve is going to buy $40 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities every month, indefinitely, from this point on. Mm-hmm. Every single month, because of them pulling $40 billion out of thin air. Nothing to back it. Nothing. Not even T-bills. Nothing to back it. They're pulling $40 billion out of thin air. The Federal Reserve is not even an agency of the federal government, and they are buying your house mortgage from the lending institution that you borrowed the money from. Maybe it was Bank of America, it may be Wells Fargo, whoever it is. They're buying your house mortgages. They're buying your church mortgage. They're buying the shopping center mortgage, $40 billion every month, and that automatically depreciates your currency by 3% every month they do it. Now, put down the second item.
Wow.
There is coming a major tax. There's coming a major tax for the middle class out of this physical cliff. Mark my words. They haven't told you about it yet, but it is.
Article out of the Washington Post on that today, about $45 billion a month. The Federal Reserve to spend $45 billion a month to buy bonds. Links rate hike to 6.5% unemployment. This is from the Washington Post. They announced today that they are going to continue doing this, $45 billion a month in printing.
That's in addition, Pastor, to the $40 billion that Bernanke announced in September. But so it's unbelievable. Okay, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to interrupt. Major tax on the middle class, number 2. Go ahead.
Yep, I thank you so much for giving that from the Washington Post. I had not read that today. I was so startled by all the other things I've heard today.
Yeah, my goodness.
To go to that source.
Yeah, wow.
Okay,
now,
add on the taxes that are going to come out of the physical cliff. I don't know what it's going to be, but it is going not to be pretty. Thirdly, add on Obamacare. That's right. Approximately a year from now, you're going to have to add on Obamacare tax, whether you like it or not. Now, the next item you want to add to that list of devaluation formula, you've been to the grocery store lately. You know that the price of groceries are going up. Put down what you think, what percentage you think those groceries are going up every month, and add that to the list. Then put down inflation. This is a known figure. Even the governor admits to this. Put down inflation of 7 to 9% per year, which would be about 1% to 1.5% per month. Put that down, if you will, and add it to all of this, plus the fact if you are not management personnel, your paycheck or your work week may be cut down to less than 30 hours because of Obamacare. Now, you add up all those things, if you will, for me. Come on. Now, take time right now. You add those up. Now, how many percentage do you come out with? Whatever it may be, you figure it right there in your house. Now, how long will it be at that percentage of devaluation of the American dollar every month? How long will it take before you can't afford to put food on the table, clothes on the back of the family, gasoline in the gas tank, and pay the house mortgage at the same time. And when those children are crying for food and your family is saying, we need some food in the house, what is the one thing that you are going to not do? You won't pay the house mortgage. That's right. I mean,
exactly.
That's what so many Americans have done lately. And that's exactly what they will. Folks, did you hear me say earlier in the program, forced debt creation? Did you catch those words? Maybe you didn't realize the significance of it. Forced debt creation. This is what they're doing. They want you to default on that house mortgage so they can come in and say, well, we'll have to repossess, and then they, the New World Order, will turn around and rent it back to you the rest of your life and to your children. It is all a part of bringing in their total control. The name of the game is control of the New World Order, new currency. Give up your status as American as you've known it in the past, become a part of the New World system, and every bit of it is falling right in place right now. Next agenda. Oh, I hope you're writing these down. The debt limit, mark my words, is going to be suspended. Every few months, Congress has to come back. The President and Congress fight. And that's the reason for the fiscal cliff right now, as to who's going to get their way, Democrats or Republicans. And it's getting to be such a utter absurdity. You mark my words, it's already been suggested by Timothy Geithner of what do you call him? Anyway, it's already been suggested that we just do away with the debt limit altogether and just let Congress spend anything they want to spend. So mark my words, you'll probably see that happen shortly. Next agenda. The dollar will be phased out over the next 4 years. Now, folks, please keep in mind, the things that I've been given are things that will happen over a 4-year period. You're not going to see all this take place tomorrow morning or next month or the next month. You're going to see it gradually take place over a 4-year period, and I want to prove to you what I just said. You saw the first evidence of it 2 weeks ago. The dollar will be phased out over the next 4 years' time, and it will lose so much of its purchasing power that when the New World Order steps in and say we have a new world currency, people will be right ready to receive it. It happened 2 weeks ago, one of the first evidences of this. Now, you heard that the President of the United States of America was going to Southeast Asia. Oh, my goodness, did the national liberal media build this up? He is going over there to the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership meeting, and we are going to create so many jobs for, I mean to tell you, for about a week's time on almost every liberal media newscast, you heard about the President's trip to Southeast Asia to meet with those 15 nations. Well, he came back last week. Did you hear peep? No. You didn't hear one word. I mean, they didn't even indicate he had gotten back home yet. You heard it from other sources. Why? I won't tell you what happened over there. You need to investigate this for yourself. Our president did go with all of his entourage. 15 Asian nations, which comprised 1/2 of the world's population. Did you get this? 1/2 of the world's population. They called it the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. And there was China, India, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, 3 billion Asians comprising 50% of the world's population were meeting to decide how they were going to carry on their finances in trade and purchase and sale from this point on. And when our president got there, he asked for America to be a part of that economic partnership. You know what they told him? They said, Mr. President, get back on your 747 airplane and go back home. We don't even want you around. I mean, they did. They literally told him to get on his airplane and go home. They said, we don't even want you as a member of our Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. That's the reason you didn't hear one word out of the media when he got back here, because he was like a little dog with a tail tucked between his legs, running in the back gate, They literally told him to go home, mind your own business. We don't want you. Folks, do you realize that when you take 1/2 of the world's population and they don't any longer use the reserve currency of the world, which is the American dollar, for sale and trade of their products, instead they're going to use the Chinese currency for sale and trade of that. This has never happened in the history of the United States American dollar. 1/2 of the world's population, as of last week, no longer is going to use the American dollar for the sale and trade of product. Can you imagine the trillions and trillions of American dollars that the world won't use, that are going to come back to halt the Federal Reserve, who is printing out of thin air into oblivion? Can you imagine what's going to happen when those trillions of dollars? Now, it'll take somewhere in the neighborhood of 6, 9, maybe 12 months for these dollars to work their way back into the United States of America because the world doesn't want them anymore. I want to give you another one. This one, at the time I heard it, I hardly could believe it myself. On April the 5th of 2012, there was a group called BRICS. It stood for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They met, and they said, by the way, this is 43% of the world's population, 18% of the world's GDP, and 53% of the world's global financial capital. And BRICS met, and they said, we're not going to use the American dollar anymore. We don't need you. We're going to use Chinese currency from now on for the sale and trade of everything from crude oil to products, anything we trade amongst ourselves. That happened on April the 5th. Then, Phnom Penh, that happened 2 weeks ago. Our president was sent home with his tail between his legs, and they said, we don't even want you around. Folks, the American dollar has lost its status as a reserve currency of the world. The American dollar, now do you understand why I said it is an agenda of the elite that over the next 4 years, the American dollar will be phased out. Anything that you do in American dollars, you had better make preparation right now. You positively must take some precautions immediately. Do you understand now why, when I heard what I heard from my elite friend, I was utterly dumbfounded, flabbergasted, startled to the point that I said, I've got to weigh this all out. And finally, after 3 hours and 29 minutes in studio trying to explain what I'd heard, I'm just giving you the high points today on this program. And when I got through with that 3 hours and 29 minutes of just telling what I had heard, information I'd been given, I said, I can't do this. I said, there's no way I can do this. You know, I was a pastor of the church for 12 years. Same church, Grace Baptist Church in Hollywood, Florida. And when you pastor a church for that many years, you have a pastor's heart. A missionary for many years in Alaska. You have a heart for people. And when I finished hearing what I heard and putting it on DVD, I said, I can't do this. I cannot stop here. I said, I cannot leave the American people hanging here. I called 2 of the most prominent people I know in America in the financial field. And I've met a few as a result of the elite. And I called them and I said, I need some help. One of them is a Wall Street insider of many years ago who finally became so disgusted with Wall Street and its corruption that he bowed out. But he knows everything that goes on behind closed doors. But yet he's an honest man. He's a Christian. And I said, would you help me tell the American people solutions as to what they can do in light of what I've been told? He knows me well. We've been together a number of times. He said, yeah, I will. I called another friend of mine in the financial world. I mean, prominent, very well known. And I said, would you help me? These 2 men and I went before the cameras, and we produced a 2-hour and 50-minute presentation of nothing but solutions. Did you catch that? No doom and gloom. We don't even talk about the problem. I already told the problem in my first DVD series of 3 hours and 29 minutes. In the second one, we do nothing but tell you how to survive, what to do, what investments to make, where you can go for help, how you can find a solution to the problem of the next 4 years. Nothing but solutions. I told my friends before we ever got together, I said, now I want you to come to the studio prepared to give a solution to the millionaire. I said, we're not going to leave them out either. I said, I want you to have a solution for the middle class. I want you to have a solution for the man on the streets. I said, we want to do something we've never done before and give solutions to every person out there in light of what they're going to face. And I've never produced anything like this before. 2 hours and 50 minutes of nothing but solutions beginning to end. Are you beginning to realize why I had to do that in light of the things that I've heard? Okay, let me go to the next agenda. There are some factions out there right now that you're going to see play out. You won't find this anywhere. You're hearing this probably, many of you, for the first time on this program. There are 3 factions right now that you must know about. Once you know about them, you can watch them. You know, it's what you don't know that's going to hurt you so much. And what you do know will only help you. So I want to explain these to you, and then you watch them. Number 1, we have the old-fashioned elite. George Herbert Bush, Daddy Bush, of many, many years ago, one-term president after Reagan, missed the New World Order himself. And you've got Henry Kissinger and all those that we've known about for a long time who are a part of the old-fashioned, hardcore New World Order elite. Now, you've got that faction. Secondly, you have a president that has been reelected for a second term that is totally out of control. Let me explain. In the first 4 years of Mr. Obama's administration, he double-crossed the elite numerous times. And I was on the phone with my elite friends, and oh my goodness, was I getting an earful over the past 4 years. You remember that when the pipeline was going across Canada, Mr. Obama said, nope, the United States won't have anything to do with it. They were livid. They had to have that pipeline across Canada. Then Mr. Obama forced through the Dodd-Frank bill, a banking regulation bill. They didn't want it. Oh, were they angry. Then Obama refused to open up public lands for oil exploration. He literally double-crossed the elite numerous times. And from time to time, I'd be on the phone with my elite friend, and they were so angry you couldn't imagine at this president who had intentionally double-crossed them in favor of his Muslim Brotherhood friends. That's right. He wanted oil brought in. He still wants us to be reliant on his Muslim Brotherhood friends. And now he's back in. Keep in mind something. The elite think they're God, but they really aren't. They just think they are. They don't always get their way. They didn't want Mr. Obama back in office, but he got in. The American people elected him, and he had double-crossed the elite so many times. They know in the next 4 years that they have a man that's like a bull in a china shop. He is totally out of control. They're going to have their problems with him. That is the second faction that you're facing right now. I'm trying to explain why you must understand these factions. So thirdly, you have something new that I have never heard the word before. But recently, one of my friends said to me, he said, Chaplain, we've got a renegade elite out there. And I said, what are you talking about, a renegade? A renegade elite. Okay, Phnom Penh, here is 1/2 of the world's population. They're opting out of using the American dollar. You had BRICS back on April the 5th of 2012. These are the ones that they are calling a renegade elite. Now, the elite have controlled them as long as anybody has known. Now, they're wondering, how can we bring about this control factor and bring in our new world order the way we want it? You've got a renegade elite. You've got 3 factions here. You've got the old-fashioned elite. You've got Obama, a president out of control. You've got a renegade elite that is concerning them to a certain point. Now, what's going to happen? This is what's so important to you, and the reason I had to explain it. You remember years ago you'd watch the old-fashioned Western movies, and you would see the saloon. And somebody in the middle of the saloon would overturn a crap table. And the whole saloon would break out in a fight. Now, whether you were at that table that was turned over or not didn't matter. You were in the middle of that fight, and there was nothing you could do about it, and you had to fight your way out. That's the old Western movies you used to watch years ago. Do you realize that that's exactly where you are as a middle-class American? You are caught right now between the old-fashioned elite, the New World Order. You're caught between an out-of-control president that's doing rash things. You're caught between a renegade elite that they know is rising up in power more by the moment. And you know who's going to hurt? The middle-class American is going to be caught in the midst of a fist fight that is not going to be pretty. And, folks, you'd better make preparation. You'd better watch very carefully what each of these three factions do, because you, as the middle class of American, are the ones that are going to be caught in the middle of that fist fight in that saloon, whether you like it or not. Well,
wow.
I'm having to cover these fast. The next agenda.
At this point, Pastor, I've got to say, as far as political issues are concerned, I suspect we've seen the last of our presidential elections. Given what you've just said, the dollar going out, being phased out, and everything happening, we're not going to have any more elections, are we?
Well, that was the next agenda, believe it or not. 38% of Americans receive some remuneration from the federal or state government every month, right now, today. 12 of 12. 38%. That it may be Medicare, maybe Medicaid, maybe Social Security, it may be a pension, it may be food stamps, it may be welfare. It may be that you work for the government and receive some payment every month, or maybe you own a retirement and you own a retirement fund. 38% of all the people in the United States of America receive some sort of remuneration from the government every month. We have 50 million people on food stamps in America right now. 50 million. I want to give you the prediction. You ready? Please put this down beside your calendar. And 4 years from now, you're going to look back and say, Joe and Doug had a profit on this program that day. And you know what I'm going to tell you? I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not. This didn't come from dreams, visions. This didn't come from tea leaves or fortune tellers. This came directly from them who are doing it. And I'm just trying to help you. 4 years from now, I want to give you the figure. It's 38% right now that receive something from the government every month. 4 years from now, they already have a schedule, it's already planned behind closed doors, that 70% of the people in the United States of America will be receiving some sort of remuneration from the government every month. 70%. Let me give you some figures. In 1960, 1 in 60 people received food stamps in 1960. 2012, 1 in 6.5 people are receiving food stamps.
Wow.
Okay, here's the prediction. There will never be another honest election in the United States of America. Never. Why? Whoever signs the check for those 70% of those people will always get reelected. We will never have another honest election in the United States of America. Now, I love to travel. I love being in national parks. I was in Yellowstone back a year or so ago. All over the park, I saw signs. Don't feed the animals. Don't feed the animals. I mean, you go in any national park, you'll see it all over. Why? Don't feed the animals. They might become dependent on it. Don't feed the animals. Do you realize that Washington should listen to the Forest Service? They will have 38 to 70% of every person in America getting something in the way of a handout from the government in some form within the next 4 years. Maybe the federal government should listen to the Forest Service before they go any further. Because you keep feeding people like this, you'll be able to elect anybody that you want in office. Doug?
That's great advice. I mean, we can see the writing on the wall, and you know the blessings of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I mean, we're selling our children into slavery through debt, and the blessings of like I said, of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob. It's going to be a curse. I can't imagine, Pastor. I cannot imagine the insanity that we're seeing here. The
middle class is going to be wiped out. And Pastor, I don't know if you have information on this, but one thing people are asking about is the Federal Reserve Charter. We know that it's supposed to be ending. I've not found anything reestablishing it, putting it up for a vote. They have not disclosed if they're leaving. Is there? I've also heard that there was an agreement maybe 10, 20 years ago that it is permanent, which I'm not sure they can do. Do you know what the Federal Reserve is going to do? Are they just going to continue without any legislation passed, granting them the authority to continue to print money? Or
yeah, I mean, in 1913 they were established, and they had a 99 or 100-year charter. It's up now. What's the deal with the Fed? Is it going to be relevant?
Why was John F. Kennedy assassinated?
For executive order.
Sure you know why John F. Kennedy was assassinated.
Yes.
John F. Kennedy had announced, and he had printed in the form of $2 and $5 bills congressional money. If John F. Kennedy had not been assassinated in Dallas, he would have done away with the Federal Reserve. This was his intention. And he had already printed congressional money. We would have no national debt today if John F. Kennedy had succeeded. They could not allow that to happen. And as a result, he was assassinated. I'm sure you must know, many of you know the background to that. Now, I have heard what you've heard, that the charter runs out, and this is true. It does run out. I have tried to get some information on this. You know, oftentimes I'll have talk show hosts to come to me and say, Chaplain, next time you talk to one of your elite friends, would you please ask him this and this and this? And if I feel it's worthwhile, next time I'm talking with one of them, I will. I'll ask a question. These people are so powerful. They are so butt-headed and strong that if they don't want to answer my question, they just merely fluff it off. And I have not been able to give them any answer in relation to auditing the Fed or the Fed charter. Nothing. I know no more than what you know. I cannot believe that they would allow the Federal Reserve to disappear.
Interesting. And that makes perfect sense, especially in light of Dallas, 1963. Folks, you're listening to the Hagmann Report. Our very special guest is Pastor Lindsey Williams, and you can find him at lindseywilliams.net. And he's got 2 DVDs set out there. I'll tell you what, it's worth every cent. Pastor, can you hold on for another segment?
Yes, I can, gladly.
All right. Folks, we're going to be back after about 3 minutes of messages. Stay with us. Hi, folks. Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eileen Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies that work right there in your neighborhood. KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seats. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this December 12th, 2012 edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me is my co-host, Joe Hagmann. He's my son. We're investigators by profession and, of course, truth seekers through this program. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining us live tonight. And if you're listening to this via rebroadcast, I want to thank you as well. I hope everyone has got pen and paper at hand, because our very special guest tonight is Pastor Lindsey Williams, and I suppose, folks, you best know him as being a regular guest on with Alex Jones, our good friend Alex Jones. Of course, I've been on with Alex a number of times myself, and
numerous other shows.
Yes, Pastor Williams has been on a number of other shows. As a matter of fact, I received an email, Pastor, today. Are you back with us, Pastor?
Yes, I'm right here listening.
I'll tell you what, Pastor, I received an email from a gentleman, and I'm trying to find it here, that interviewed you back in 1984. As a matter of fact, his name is Walt Young, and he interviewed you in 1984 on WMEL in Melbourne, Florida, after you published your book To Seduce a Nation. And Walt Young says that he still has the book and he keeps it on his bed headboard as a reference, and that you were right on and he's been following you. So he says, please give my best to Mr. Lindsey Williams. And I thought that was so neat that you've touched so many people, and you've been right on the money with your information for a number of years. It's a privilege, Pastor, to have you on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. It's just fantastic. We certainly appreciate the sacrifice of time that you're giving us tonight.
Well, Doug, it's all by the providence of God. I really can't take any credit for it, because I did not seek the position that I was given. I didn't ask for it. I never requested executive status with the 9 major oil companies. I did request to be a chaplain, but I thought only to the men. It had to have been the providence of God that put me in the board meetings with the elite of the world for those 3 years and allowed me to live with them and keep in touch with them now for 37 years. So we'll just give all the glory and praise to the Lord. I'm afraid I'm just an ordinary, everyday guy that puts on my britches just like everybody else every day. It's just that I happen to know the people who are doing it, and as a result have an opportunity to let you know what's happening in order to spare you a lot of heartache. Now, all those out in the listening audience, will you please jot this down for me? If you wish to get our latest presentation, my latest presentation is the next 4 years, and I give all the agendas that the elite have given to me. It took me 3 hours and 29 minutes to explain the information I had heard. Very in-depth. And then after that, I said, I can't leave the American people there, and we went back in studio with 2 of the leading financial professionals of America, and we produced a 2-hour and 50-minute presentation on nothing but solutions, how to survive the next 4 years. Please jot down this number for me, if you will. You can go toll-free and find those presentations available. By the way, the first of those were shipped out today. You heard me correctly. This is brand new. We just finished the editing on it, and as far as I know, the first copies of that went out today. You can call, if you wish, toll-free, 1-888-799-6111. That's 24 hours a day. You talk with an American operator, by the way. 888-799-6111. Or you can go on the web, if you'd like, to prophecyclub.com. That's www.prophecyclub.com, prophecyclub.com, and you'll find all of these presentations there, and I would urge you to get them. By the way, these are not copywritten. Did you catch what I said? They are not copywritten. I want you to copy them, give them out to everybody you can. Get an original copy, and then copy it and give it to everyone you can. We don't have time for greed. We must get the message out. So I'm begging you to get a copy of this. Copy it all you wish. Give it to people for Christmas. It'll be one of the greatest Christmas presents you could give them. And that is the next 4 years and how to survive the next 4 years. So, Doug, it has been my privilege to be here tonight to at least let people know you do have something you can do about it. You do not need to suffer what the average people are going to suffer. In 1929 through 1933, there were many people who, during the Great Depression, made great fortunes. Not everybody stood in the soup line. There were many people who knew it was coming. They set their financial house in order, and as a result, they bought things for pennies on the dollar, and they made great fortunes back in those days. There is no reason for you to suffer. If you know what they're going to do and you take precautions right now, you can spare yourself a lot of heartache, and that's what I'm trying to help you do. One of them would be the next agenda, and you'll recognize the past, the present, and the future in this. Gold and silver. I was told a couple of years ago that the currency of the elite is gold and silver, not paper. If it's written on a piece of paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. I do not sell gold, by the way, nor silver. You couldn't buy it from me if you tried, but I'm just giving you facts. In 2008, Mr. Obama went into his first administration, gold was $800 an ounce. This is fact. 2012, this is fact. It's $1,700 and some few dollars today. By 2016, the price of gold is going to be at least $3,000 an ounce or probably more. You can't make that much in your IRA, your 401k. You can't make that in your mutual fund or your retirement fund. I hope that you will take warning and take advantage of what is the currency of the elite, and you can spare yourself a lot of heartache, Doug.
Wow. Well, obviously, gold and silver have always been a commodity that rises in price, and it's a hedge against inflation. But what you're saying, though, we're going to see fantastic rises, obviously, with the devaluation of the dollar and the phasing out of the dollar. We're going to see fantastic rises in the price. But one question I have, Pastor, and this is something that I'm trying to work this through my head here. As this all comes down, what's it going to look like? What's it going to look like? For example, is this? I suppose what you're saying, the collapse, the phasing out of the dollar is going to be incremental. Is kind of the feeling I'm getting. Is that a correct statement?
Yes. And oftentimes people ask me on shows that have call-ins, many people have asked me lately, well, Chaplain, you know the elite. You have their phone numbers. You can talk to them even yet. They said, why would the elite destroy their own country? Because you've heard me say on talk shows that the majority of the elite that I met are Americans. And they said, why would the elite destroy their own country? And my response is, the elite are not destroying their own country. You don't understand. You have to know the mindset and the thought patterns of the elite. I tried to describe it to you in my book, To Seduce a Nation. Please go to Amazon Kindle and get a copy of my book, To Seduce a Nation. It's out of print, but on Amazon Kindle you can get it, To Seduce a Nation, for just a few dollars. But you need to get it and understand the mindset of the elite. Now, what is it that they want? The elite are not destroying America. The elite are taking over America. The elite want to control everything. And basically, if I could put it in a nutshell, they want the dollar to collapse with the other currencies of the world. They want every person to be so strapped that they can come in, bring everything under the New World Order, their way, not with riots and all these. I keep trying to tell people, the elite don't want riots. The elite want to gradually bring in the New World Order their way, and after they have total control, they will bring this country and much of the rest of the world out of its chaotic condition under the auspices of the elite, under the auspices of the New World Order, and it's only a matter of a control factor. But they have to bring about this chaotic condition in the financial world and so on in order to be able to get people to be willing to accept the control they want. And at that point, it's going to be a world brought back out of the mess it's in by the elite under their auspices, and I don't think anybody will want to live under that kind of a forced auspices, and it must be stopped. We cannot allow them to accomplish what they want, but this basically is it in a nutshell.
Pastor Williams, I have a question, and a few people in our interactive chat are asking this. You have had a close relationship with the elites, and you say they are your friends, and you share information with the public. People wondering what is the reason they allow you to share that information. Is it they tell you you're allowed to share so much information? Is there threats against you for sharing this information?
Over 37 years since I actually lived with these people, I have been threatened twice. About 3.5, 4 years ago, one of them called me on the phone one day, and he was beside himself. He was so angry. And he said, Chaplain, you've gone too far. You've said too much. And he said, you've got to do this, this, and this, and this, or we're going to do this, and this, and this, and this. And what he said was not pleasant. One of the things was I had to shut down my website, and I did. I haven't had one since, and I still don't have one. A man in the United Kingdom set this up on the LindseyWilliams.net. I didn't even know he was doing it at the time. But they have I allow them to post the radio shows that I'm on so that at least people can listen to what I have to say. There are times that they say to me, Chaplain, you don't say this. We're telling it to you to protect your own family. But there's some things I can't say. But there are many things that I can in order to help everyone I can. Now, when I lived with the elite, one of the things I learned early on, keep in mind now, I've been a pastor of a church for 12 years. I had many, many counseling experiences. I have graduated from college with a bachelor's degree. And I pretty much figure these people out, or I tried to. One of the things I learned early on with the elite is they do have a code of ethics. Now, I know this sounds strange, but they do. The elite do have a code of ethics, and one of the facets of that code of ethics is they must tell the world everything they're going to do before they do it. Now, I know that sounds strange, but if you know how to listen to their buzzwords, the national media will tell you almost everything they're going to do. Now, the national media is their mouthpiece, and Hollywood is their perversion. And if you know how to interpret the buzzwords of Hollywood, you can pick up on what the elite are going to do 6 months to a year from now. Let me give you an example. Now, you go back and prove this for yourself. You remember when Katrina went through New Orleans?
Oh, yeah.
And it was done with the HAARP. The storm had already formed, but they took the HAARP program and manipulated it where they wanted to go. Just a matter of weeks before Katrina hit New Orleans, there was a movie that came out. It was all across America. You could watch it on the satellites. It was called Oil Storm. Now you go back and watch it for yourself. It came out approximately 2 to 3 weeks before Katrina hit New Orleans. Everything that is pictured in that movie, Oil Storm, happened in New Orleans, right down to the dome building, that the people in, the breaking of the dikes, the oil platforms off of New Orleans, everything that happened with Katrina was in that movie. They were telling people what they were going to do ahead of time, and then they feel that their conscience is relieved. If you know how to listen to the elite, you can interpret what they're saying and know in advance, because they have to tell you everything they're going to do before they do it. And I think sometimes they might use me as a mouthpiece. You know, it really doesn't matter to me as long as I can help people. I'm more than happy to do what I can, but you can know what these people are going to do in advance.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question, was just, do you think that they're using you to put out information that they want to get out?
Yeah.
Not even disinformation, just certain information to lead the public or the aware people in a certain direction. But he answered.
Yeah, I think you did answer that. Pastor, and I want to be very respectful of your time, because of course, I know you've done radio shows today, and my goodness, you're so gracious with your time. But let me ask you this question: I've heard you talk about the Devil's Messiah program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'll have to speak briefly. I had a show just before coming with you at 5 to 6. I was on with Dr. Stan Monteith, and this goes on hour after hour during the day. And then, of course, with you folks on now. But very, very briefly, a number of years ago, I was on the phone with one of my elite friends, and he used an expression in the course of the conversation that's fascinated me. He used the expression "Devil's Messiah," and I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what he was saying, and I still don't know all the depth of it. But I went back in a few moments in the conversation. I said, wait a minute, I need to ask you a question about an expression used a few minutes ago, Devil's Messiah. Now, first of all, let me tell you what this is not. This is not the Antichrist of the book of Revelation. This is not a man. This is an agenda. This is a plan. If you happen to talk with one of the elite and you use this expression, they would know what you were talking about. It's their buzzwords. And basically what it is, they knew that in order to bring in the New World Order in its fullest extent, that the God that made America great, the God of the Bible, the God of George Washington and our founding fathers, and the God who gave, I believe, the idea of this great Constitution and the constitutional republic of the founding fathers, they have to remove that God from all public life before they can bring in the New World Order. They had to remove him from the school, and they put evolution in its place, taught the children that they were animals so they can go and act like them. Then they had to remove him from public life and from Congress. They had to remove and put in all of the other things that they're putting in out there today that are going on in this country. They had to remove him from every facet of life before they could bring in the New World Order. And one of the places that they had to remove him from was from the church. So they brought in 501c3 to bridle the pastors so they couldn't talk. And now one of the agendas over the next 4 years is to get that congregation, every congregation in America, into such horrible financial condition, just like this forced debt that they're going to do on everybody else. They want those church congregations to get right into this point, to the place that the church people can't give like they used to give, and the church has a mortgage on their building, and you just miss one payment, churches, and you've had it. They want to come in, repossess your church building, and tell the preacher what to preach. It is all a part of the Devil's Messiah program of removing the God of America that made this country great before they can bring in the New World Order. And they've done quite a good job of it.
Wow. Well, Pastor, you've been very, very gracious with your time, and I want to thank you so very much for being on the Hagmann Report. You've got no idea how indebted we are to you. I just want to wish you all the best, and hopefully you'll come back on with us again sometime in the future. Thank you for being so gracious with your time, Pastor, and God bless and stay safe.
Well, Doug and Joe, thank you for allowing me to be on your program. You see, I could not have said all this tonight were it not for you. So I thank you for the privilege of being here. Everyone out in your listening audience, please set that spiritual house in order. before you take care of anything financial, before you make any investment decisions, you know Jesus Christ is your Savior. You be sure where you stand in relation to the Word of God. Read the book of Romans and find out exactly that your house is on that solid rock, because if it's on sinking sand, it's going to wash away when the storms come. So know that your relationship with the God of the Bible is where it should be, and if you don't know Him as your Savior, go to the Word of God and find it and trust Him as your Savior. If you'd like the entire plan of salvation explained in intricate detail, go to lindsaywilliams.net, and one of the sites there, you will find this. Lord bless. I thank you so much for allowing me to be with you, and y'all have a nice evening.
God bless you, Pastor Williams. Thank you so very much. Folks, good night. Folks, that was Pastor Lindsey Williams. You know him best from Alex Jones. You know him from numerous other radio programs. This guy can outrun me, and I'm sure, Joe, he can outrun you. I did that. I pushed that button.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
But we're going to take a short break right now. And I just can't believe he's done a ton of radio today, and he shared quite a bit of time with us and quite a bit of information with us. And we're going to be talking about that information on the other side. There's a short break. Folks, you're listening to the Hagmann Report on this, the 12th day of December 2012. We're going to be right back after these messages.
If you're stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop shopping palace. Any problems that you have, I don't know what to get Grandpa, I don't know what to get my loved one, that's unique, you will find it at 4physics.com. Please take my word for it. Go to the website, but give yourself a lot of time because you're not going to want to leave. 4physics.com.
Well, things surveillance is getting out of hand these days. Well, brace yourself for this. Verizon has filed a patent for a cable box equipped with a microphone and sensors to record what you're doing. That's right. The television would be watching you, watching it. The idea would be that Verizon could target advertisements to what you're doing while you're watching TV. So if you're watching with a pet, it can show you commercials for pet products. If you're fighting with your spouse, it can lead you to the ideal marriage counselor. And that's not all. This technology would be able to communicate with your phone to see what you've been browsing on your mobile device. Now, this obviously doesn't sit well with privacy advocates. Here's Verizon's response.
In a statement, Verizon tells NBC4 the company has a well-established track record of respecting its customers' privacy and protecting their personal information, adding, while we do not comment on pending patent applications, such futuristic patent filings by innovators are routine.
So at this point, it's just an idea, but is this a sign that tracking consumers and the ability to spy is getting out of hand? Well, it seems like a scary sign of what's to come.
Doug Hagmann, one guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for this, the 12th day of December 2012. We are blessed to have Pastor Lindsey Williams on with us for an extended period. We kind of dragged it out a little bit, trying to get some additional information. And he's got a 2 DVD set. And if you heard him say, look, it's it's not copyrighted. I checked out the website, the 2 DVDs, 6.5 hours worth of running time, $90 roughly. Okay, $90. But I'll tell you what, if you buy one and copy and give 9 copies to friends, I mean, for Christmas, that's reasonable, and you can well do that. And certainly what he's got to say perhaps can. I'll tell you what, this Christmas, we are going to be very frugal. We have to be. And we talked about this, Joe and I did yesterday, giving things of value to people, not junk. And really kind of not even that. It's about the family. It's about being fellowship with one another. That's what Christmas is about, and about worshiping and about celebrating the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. Regardless of which day he was born, we choose to celebrate it on this day in December.
So we celebrate it every day.
Well, exactly. But before we get to what Joe's got here, I just want to say this. With Pastor Lindsey Williams and what we're talking about here, wasn't it once the great American dream to make as many people as possible a part of the middle class? I mean, everyone kind of was striving to be the middle and upper class, if not the upper class, but the middle class, because the middle class really is the backbone of our society, the most important segment of our population. It was important because the middle class maintained a progressive, self-governing, secure, and they're freedom-loving people. But obviously, if you have a government or a group of globalists trying to set up a virtual dictatorship, this middle class, this middle group, is an enemy, and the middle group is going to resist a dictatorship. At least it'll do so if it knows what is happening to them. So this is the fact of life which the super rich collectivists of the establishment face today. Everything they do must be accomplished in an atmosphere of propaganda and deception. Lindsey Williams said that. You know that. As listeners to this program, you know that. Otherwise, the elitists, the globalists, the people running things, they run into a groundswell of resentment and resistance as they attempt to compel us, the middle class, the average people of America, to give up our independence, our property, our constitutional prerogatives. And we are giving them up left and right without a word being said. And you know what their current strategy is, and their strategy that's always been there? Pressure from the top down and the bottom up. And you heard Van Jones talk about this. You've got you've got elected or people around the president and the president himself talking about this very, very tactic. And this is what's happening. This is becoming a theme. I mean, this is becoming a theme. It's to create a revolution, because we have revolutionaries in office. Violence, although Pastor Williams said the elite don't want violence, truly, I believe, and Joe, I'll have to ask you whether you believe that violence will not be a collateral effect of what we're seeing, of this social dislocation of people, whether at the bottom or at the top. Creating this ever-increasing pressure at the top from really like a monolithic power, in the centralization that we see taking place. We're being overrun, and we're allowing the Constitution, our constitutional liberties, we're allowing them to run roughshod over our constitutional liberties. What's that about? Where's our line in the sand, folks? When are we going to say enough is enough? We saw today that video of that Fox reporter getting smacked around by the union thugs.
Yeah,
I mean, this is what is coming. We're seeing it taking place. We're seeing it develop. This is what is coming. And folks, I just want to say this. Excuse me. I want to apologize for not being able to take any calls during Pastor Williams' appearance, only because he had a very limited amount of time. He wanted to get in as much in as possible. Hopefully, he did that. We allowed him basically the floor without interruption, and hopefully, you were able to take away quite a bit of information that he did provide to you. I know I took notes, and he's an eloquent guy.
Yeah,
but,
a lot of people have different opinions about it, but we don't bring people on to tell us what we want to hear. We bring people on so they can tell us what they know.
And you know
if
something? That's right.
Agrees with your belief structure, if it sits right with you when you're in prayer with the Lord, that's something you need to do further action. We see with the masses, the problem with the uneducated, dumbed down masses of America that watch mainstream media and use it as their source for information, how they have a lack of discernment. And we can't have that in what we do. We need every single listener to have discernment.
You can't be one of those dogs that you see in the back. Remember those you probably don't, but in the back windows of cars back in the 60s and 70s, the bobblehead dogs, that sat there and their head would go up and down. You can't be one of those people. We're just, oh yeah, whatever they say, yeah. No, you know what? And I like that adage that if everyone is in agreement, or if everyone's in agreement, then really only one person is doing the thinking. That's not quite it, but you get the idea. So bring on the differing opinions, differing viewpoints, and we talk about them. We provide that information, but I don't agree with a couple of things. I do believe that we're going to see the collapse of the dollar a little bit sooner than 4 years from now. However, anything's possible. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, plans change.
That's right.
Depending on situations. There's variables at play here that could affect timelines, move things up, move things back. But everything is under the control of the Lord.
The objectives by these Luciferian satanic entities, people, their objectives are the same. The plans change. We can throw a fly in the ointment, a monkey wrench into the thing by what we do, and that could mess things up a little bit. And to me, as a Christian, Joe, I don't know. What do you think about this? That's kind of like my job. I want to be the fly in the ointment of the satanic people.
Well, yeah, I want to promote Jesus,
right?
Spread his message of salvation first and foremost. Secondly, deliver accurate news to the people,
right,
on and how it pertains to what we're seeing with Bible prophecy being played out. And those are the two objectives. If they're thwarted plans because of what we do, that's an extra bonus. But I believe that there is a bigger agenda at play, the Lord's agenda.
Well, you heard him, Lindsey Williams, say get your spiritual house right first. That's the important thing.
Right.
And I think that's what we have to do, but I don't believe that they're mutually exclusive. I think we can do both at the same time. And if I could be a thorn in the side of the people that want to destroy this country, then God willing, I will be. And but the biggest, really, and Joe, I know that we talk about this, and folks, our listeners, and through emails and such. The biggest fear that the globalists, the rulers, the satanic Luciferian peoples have, the biggest fear is an educated, awakening populace. And if everyone listening to this program is awake to what's going on, and you start talking to others, You be the leader of your clan, of your family, of your, I was going to say tribe, but okay, tribe. I mean, whatever. You be the leader in your own sphere of influence. I'm going to tell you something. Sooner or later, the word is going to get out. There will be an awakening, and we're going to pose a major threat to these people. By the way, before I forget, let me just say this. Excuse me. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 9 to midnight tomorrow night. I can't wait for this. I cannot wait. Joe, go ahead.
We are going to be joined by Russ Dizdar and Steve Quayle, and we are going to be talking about the physical and spiritual.
The Black Awakening is actually, the Black Awakening is the title of the program.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because I named it something different from what Steve had up on his alert. But basically talking about the demonic in the physical and spiritual, what we are going to be facing in the times of tribulation as things spiral out of control.
I'm going to tell you something. If you have not heard Russ Dizdar and read his bio, all I'm going to just say is you're in for a real treat. This man is one heck of an orator, a great speaker, an engaging man, and he's got information, Black Awakening. He's got information that is critical to hear, crucial to hear. Yeah. But so that's tomorrow at a special time, 9 p.m. Eastern through midnight tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to that. And once again, Pastor Williams, God bless you. Thank you very much for your time tonight. But let's move on to some hard-hitting news that we need to cover, we need to get to, because this affects us. And speaking of that, folks, when Lindsey Williams talked about the news today, did you hear about that today? About the what he mentioned with the work for the federal government for 2 years? And
yeah, I did not see that.
I didn't either. Really?
It fits right into their plan.
Holy cow! Okay.
We already see most of the money, the majority of the money goes through the government's hands anyway. They're expanding at an exponential rate, these agencies, whether it's Department of Homeland Security to, the USDA, the EPA, through the UN, the World Bank, the World Health and World Trade Organizations, NAFTA and GATT. They are expanding our government. They are expanding the regulations. And as Lindsey Williams talked about the middle class, they are liquidating the middle class right now as the Federal Reserve, we mentioned earlier, is printing $45 billion to buy mortgage-backed securities. Also, the federal government projects a high unemployment for the next 3 years.
That's right.
Federal Reserve projects the unemployment rate will stay elevated until late 2015, suggesting it will keep short-term interest rates low for the next 3 years.
How much lower can, for example, the savings rates go?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to cost you money to keep it, and it already does it in Europe. If you have money and you want to park it in a bank, what they used to call savings account, now you've got to pay a premium to keep the money in the bank. By the way,
the Federal Reserve seems to think that the inflation rate will stay below 2% for the next 3 years as they continue to print money. And as
which plan?
Mr. Williams pointed out, as the Asian nations are moving away from using the dollar, those dollars flood back here. Weimar Republic scenes flash into my head.
You're going to be able to use that as firewood. Well, the Fed's massive easing program for the last 5 years is a disaster.
Yeah.
Bernanke, forget about the fiscal cliff. Bernanke is a bigger threat than that, because now the Fed's expanded, by the way, its balance sheet to almost $3 trillion through quantitative easing. In what sane world is this right?
Yeah. And I don't have this story in front of me. You might have to pull it up. The story I sent you on, what was it? The
story I sent you, but what was it? Come on.
No, the Department of Homeland Security saying, or putting out a new report stating that the Army manual, new Army manual stating that removing all references to Islamic terrorism and rape and some other things. I don't have the article.
Look, and this is not a joke. There's a new Army manual that orders soldiers not to criticize the Taliban. And this is not a joke. But the Obama administration they're on a crusade, folks, to appease Islam. A new U.S. military handbook for troops deployed to the Middle East now tells soldiers, do not make any derogatory comments about the Taliban, or listen to this, or criticize pedophilia, among other outrageous things. The new manual is about 75 pages and suggests that the Western ignorance, our ignorance of the Afghan culture, not Taliban infiltration, but the Afghan culture, is responsible for the increase in deadly attacks by Afghan soldiers against the coalition forces. So we're responsible for the attacks on our troops, not because we're there. I can see that argument, but because we don't understand their culture. And this handbook, by the way, is still being drafted. It has not been published, but there was a mainstream newspaper that got a sneak preview and published it. Right? Yeah, and there was one more I don't recall, but
and another thing,
crazy.
I want to mention there's a meteor shower coming this December 13th and 14th.
Tomorrow.
And if you go to spaceweather.com, I'll post a link in the chat. There is an interesting. A few interesting stories and developments about some near-Earth objects. They are talking about extra meteor showers.
Isn't
another
meteor
shower.
Signs in the skies?
Occurring at the same time as the, how do I pronounce this? The Geminid meteor shower. And if you look at the near-Earth asteroids, they have updated some of them. Updated the distances of some of them, and we're looking at up to 120 meteors per hour in the skies.
It's ridiculous in terms of what's going on out there in the sky.
There is news that a meteor crashed in Turkey, hit in Turkey.
In Turkey, I'm not sure that would be a meteor, but
Turkey, but that goes with the information we have about the North Korean satellite. It could be that. But there is news that there are meteors and strange things in the sky going on now more than ever.
Well, I think again that goes to the signs.
There's actually a video of this meteor from Turkey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll post it into the room here.
Well, we're just getting word in here about a very large radioactive leak at Fukushima number 2 containment vessel. According to a couple of news reports, a huge leak of radioactive water is taking place in the Fukushima number 2 containment vessel, which has actually fractured. Now, according to reports, TEPCO, which is the owner of Fukushima, cannot find where this amount of highly radioactive water is leaking from. There are fractures in the containment vessel, which are suspected. They're trying to locate the source of the leak of highly radioactive water. They send in a remote control robot, which is going through the basement of the reactor building, which is still underwater apparently, and they feel that they don't know if or when they're going to be able to get this under control, and that's a scary thought because. Remember also the Bible about the water being fouled. What it was, a third of the water. So where does this play in? And for the new listeners, because we're picking up new listeners every day. We don't believe in the end of the world Mayan prophecies. We find it interesting a convergence of prophetic notations.
I find it interesting that it has spawned a whole new. Millions of people to New Age religion, this New Age false religion.
That's right.
It really has, as they have played this up over the past few years, saying, crackpots, and as the new mainstream reports it, that, all these crazy people are preparing for doomsday. But what they're really doing is the news agencies themselves are this is a tactic used by creating fear, by continuously reporting. If there was nothing to report on, and there was really no story except for the crazy people, why constantly have it in the news? And it's been in the news almost every day this month.
And this is a tactic of the powers, because what does fear do to the brain? It causes the brain kind of to shut down. If you've ever been in a car accident, or any type of serious situation, the car accident is a good example where everything appears to be going in slow motion. Well, that's your brain kind of shutting down, and I know that's not the appropriate medical terminology, but it's shutting down to protect you, to give you like a chance to organize your thoughts, but it's a protection mechanism. So, but that's what fear does. Fear causes your brain to kind of shut down, so you're not thinking the same way you would be thinking if you were not afraid. So the basis of a lot of what we see with respect to the terrorist threats. Now, there are terrorist threats out there, to be clear, but certainly not to the extent that are being peddled by this administration and previous administrations or by the leaders. So I understand that, but fear is a tool, and they want you in a state of perpetual fear. That's what's taking place. So just remember that. And then I just want to say one thing, too, before we move on. I think people people should be aware of this. I'm going off script here, and I just want to let people know. Over the last 24 to 48 hours, our radio program, our website, and other areas, we've been under a series. We've been experiencing a series of attacks. Now, I'm not going to get into exactly what's going on, but I will say that that we've been many things that could be thrown at us to be investigated for, we've been hit by a number of things over the last 48 hours that have been very trying, very time-consuming to us. That have been there are people trying to silence us, and there are people trying to get us to stop writing things. And the reason I bring that up is because you're getting close to the target when you start getting flack. So we feel that we're getting close to various targets. We're getting close to the truth and getting close to certain protected areas. And we just want to let you know that we're handling things. Perhaps you might have seen a thing or two in the chat room. That's just minor nuisance stuff. But the things we're talking about are a little bit bigger than that. But I just want to let you know that, if should you hear about something, and it's just, we're handling it. But,
yeah. In more space news here at the ROES event map, I just posted a link here. There is a event into space in Sweden. Frightened residents in western Sweden reported seeing a bright blue light racing across the night sky before an orange-colored orb smashed into the ground in a mysterious phenomenon that has yet to be explained. Aviation authorities were quick to rule out initial theories that a plane had crashed somewhere deep in the forest. They, as well as police, suspect that the mysterious night light and thunderous blast that prompted a flood of calls from concerned residents may have been caused by a meteorite. So this is number 2 I have come across now.
So signs in the sky.
Right. And we have this meteor shower that is coming upon us in the next couple of days. And we are seeing an increased number of near-Earth objects. And does this pose a risk? Will something hit Earth? There are lots of theories out there, but the closest one, 2012 DA-14, for February 15th is going to be 0.09 lunar distances away. I think it's 18,000 miles away from Earth. So yes, we are seeing things in the sky. We said the other day, talked about the West Virginia explosion of the oil company, the gas lines. There have been repeated gas lines exploding across the country. Also, we have seen the sinkholes in Ohio and Louisiana, and nobody is the mainstream media is ignoring these stories. What is causing the sinkholes going up and down? Looks like the New Madrid area. Why is this not being reported? And this is part of what we're going to continue to see. All the real news, the real signs that are coming are going to be ignored, while we will hear talk of the fiscal cliff and of other things that are of little importance or that are of importance where no solution is even given. In a good piece of news, the Supreme Court has allowed Illinois to carry concealed again. I don't have the article up here, but yesterday I saw this. There was a ruling that said that overturned a former Illinois ruling banning guns or concealed carry weapons or open carry weapons, one of the two. And that is a piece of good news. As
well, to counter that
come down, there was a shooting.
To counter that good news, that Clackamas Town Center Mall in Oregon.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. All right. There was a shooting in an Oregon mall, or a mall in Oregon, where what they term an assault rifle was used. Apparently, a gentleman by the name of Steve Forsyth. Or wait a minute.
And
right, okay.
An interesting piece of news on this one.
No, I'm sorry. That's not the shooter's name. I take that back.
Unverified news about that guy who shot some people in the mall and then killed himself. I read somewhere, don't know if it's true or not, that the gun he shot himself with was jammed. It couldn't fire. But
Jacob Tyler Roberts is the alleged shooter of the mall. I'm looking at a photograph on the internet of this young man. He looks to be young. He looks to be perhaps of Asian descent. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not even sure what I'm looking at here. It's a photograph from. It almost looks like a. I'm not going to. I don't know. It appeared to be from one of the news stations, but I'm looking at the URL and it's not. So I don't know.
Okay.
All I can say is this: what we're looking at, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be used. It's going to be exploited for a new type of weapons ban, assault weapons ban, what they call an assault weapons ban. I can see, and it's awful convenient, the timing of this, especially when we're being considered in the UN they're talking with the UN about the gun registry. It's first it's registration, then it's confiscation. I mean, that's how it works. And we had a caller last night that who said her husband was a law enforcement officer for 30 years, never once arrested a gun.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a beautiful call.
This piece of disturbing news: cops use taser on a woman buying too many iPhones. Police policy okays taser use with aggressive, combative situations. A local family says a language barrier may have resulted in police using a taser on a woman after she tried to buy too many iPhones at a local mall. Police, however, say the incident isn't that clear-cut.
Isn't that interesting? You know, well...
And I bring this up just because of one thing here, one talking point. Police use tasers more often than they should. I see
it would appear that
kids getting tasered in school. You see old ladies being tasered. I mean, it doesn't end. When cops have the ability, I mean, we're talking about an older woman here. You don't have to taser somebody in a wheelchair. I've seen videos of that. It's just sad. I mean, this lady, whoever knows what she was doing, maybe Christmas shopping, whatever. But still, we are your rulers. You follow what we say, or you go to jail or get tased. Mentality has to stop. And also, this New Jersey unveils a 3-story high eye-in-the-sky surveillance tower to fight crime. Police say technology will provide official bird's-eye view of high-crime areas. A warning to criminals in New Jersey: every step you take, every move you make, police are watching. That's what this CBS article says, but I guess how can the cameras differentiate between criminals and regular citizens? Well, it can't.
Well, remember, folks, the dispatch of these cherry-picking device, like these, I would call them like you'd see on electrical repair vehicles, where they're actually deploying these into city streets, like cherry-picker, bulletproof and enclosed areas where there could actually be people that could watch from a distance, like a 2-story high position, and watch the area. They're sending those out. You've got cameras everywhere. I mean, 1984 as fiction certainly is fact in 2012. The drones that everyone is talking about, okay, those are already overhead. People, I want you to understand that. When they say, well, we're planning on rolling these drones, no, they are already out there. They are surveillance drones, and they are active, and a lot of them are associated with local police departments that receive federal money on the condition that they buy these assets and use them. And also, and I just had learned this from an interview with a law enforcement official this week, where the information collected by the local law enforcement agency, municipal law enforcement agency, or even at a county level, is shared with the federal agency holding the purse strings. So there are strings attached to the money. And so we're seeing this. So if they say we are going to be deploying drones to your area, you can bet that those drones have already been deployed. That's the way they work. So a lot of information. And I just want to go back, because I did mention this mall shooting, Clackamas Town Center shooting. Gunman was identified as Jacob Tyler Roberts. And, in reading, and the weapon, by the way, was an AR-15. Reportedly, he stole the weapon earlier in the day from someone he knew. He shot randomly. The motives remain unclear. Police said he was found dead of what appears to be a self-inflicted wound. Every indication shows, according to various witnesses, that he acted alone. But folks, you have to think about this. It's interesting to hear people like his girlfriend and mother and people close to him saying he was fine. He was acting normally.
Yeah, that's what I always wonder.
It's really strange here.
That's what I always wonder when things like this happen. That's what I said about the person, for those joining us late. There was a father today who carved a pentagram into the back of his 6-year-old son, called 911 and said he did it because it was a holy day. Carved a pentagram with a box cutter into the back of his 6-year-old son. Okay, was this guy? It doesn't say in the report if this guy was acting strange or had problems or indicators that something was wrong. What drives a person to such insanity?
Well, you look at that. What drives people to act like zombies and chew the flesh off, nude and chew the flesh off others? It's not bath salts. It's not some sort of. There's something going on here, and I know I talked to Steve Quayle today, and I'm sure we're going to be addressing this behavior tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's something else in the spiritual realm. Well, I believe in the spiritual realm that is causing this behavior among many. And there is real possession. There is real demonic activity. There this stuff, obviously, this is real. So we have to really, I believe we have to really get to the bottom of what's going on. But those are just some of the events.
But, yeah, Top Metal denied twice to a Marine. Panetta denies the request to give Sergeant Rafael Peralta the Medal of Honor after he dived on a live grenade to save colleagues, former Marines or other Marines. Panetta, the Pentagon informed Petrello's family Wednesday morning of the denial 8 years after he was killed in Fallujah, Iraq, and 4 years after the Defense Secretary Robert Gates denied the initial bid to award the top military honor, despite eyewitness reports from his platoon that he saved their lives. What he did, they're saying there's still too many questions to accept that he knowingly scooped a grenade beneath himself to absorb the blast and save his fellow Marines, according to Panetta, despite the testimony of his other servicemen. So Robert Gates and Panetta have both now denied this man a Medal of Honor.
Do we know why?
They say they are, this is the exact words, that there are too many questions to accept that he knowingly scooped a grenade beneath himself to absorb its blast and save his fellow Marines.
Well,
so I guess a dead Marine and his fellow Marines who came back alive to tell the story isn't good enough.
Well, what we're seeing, and this is important because one of the things, according to the source that I have within the intelligence community, there's a storm forming here in the United States, and there's three storm fronts, if you will. One is the economic storm that's forming. The second is the social and political storm. People, the social chaos, societal chaos, along with the lack of political will, which does touch upon that. And of course, the other part is the gutting of our military. And part of that gutting of our military is also the demoralization of our military, which is taking place. When you start doing this, when you start denying people that appear to be, at least by all open source published reports and by people who are speaking out publicly, when you start denying people of certain awards, and look, I understand the Medal of Honor is the high. I mean, Dakota Meyer, for example, from the Ganjgal ambush, received the Medal of Honor. I happen to know Susan, well, the mother of one of the Marines that died in that ambush, and I know the story of Dakota Meyer. He won or he was not won. He was awarded the highest honor bestowed upon a soldier. But but the demoralization process has begun in earnest right now, and I've got to say that it's working. The budgetary problems with our military, it's worse than Carter. Don't forget what happened during the Carter administration, what Jimmy Carter did to our military on purpose. Obama is doing the same thing, but by introducing the other factors, the demoralizing factors of don't ask, don't tell, the extension of, or what kind of the Bill Clinton philosophy as well. You've got this multifaceted attack against our military. We're being led down a path to slaughter, and this is all part of it. So that's why this story is important. You have to look at it in that context to understand the importance of that story.
Also, this came out today. Defense Department had live video of attack in Benghazi. A live video from a drone flying over the U.S. consulate during the September 11th terrorist attack in Benghazi was monitored at a Defense Department facility but was not fed to the White House, according to senior officials. The Obama administration has declined to respond to the media request for details about who was watching the live video. But a senior defense official told Washington Times that the surveillance aircraft captured footage of the events on the ground, and it wasn't available that night at the White House. I mean, really? It wasn't available that night at the White House? What was wrong? Was there cable out? Was there... I mean, are you serious? This is your excuse? I mean, this is as bad as the Osama bin Laden fake killing.
Okay. It was
absolutely unreal. And I'm reacting because this is the first time I'm reading this article.
Let's go through that one more time. Say what?
Okay. There was a live video feed from a drone,
right,
during the consulate attack on September 11th in Libya.
First of all,
it wasn't a consulate.
That's right. It was a CIA operation.
This is a Washington Times article.
All right.
So,
all right. Well, even so, Washington Times should know better. All right.
It goes on to say the Obama administration has declined to respond to a media request about the details in the live video feed. But a senior defense official told the Washington Times the surveillance aircraft captured footage of events on the ground, and it wasn't available that night at the White House. The official said the overhead footage was available at the Department of Defense location.
So we're going to buy that, right? As you said, what was a cable out? Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to buy this.
Yeah, this is absolutely I mean, people will buy anything, and this shows you how far gone, how brain dead our country, our fellow brothers and sisters in America are.
Well,
as this will go, unchallenged, just like Osama bin Laden's death, they won't release the details. Crew members on the ship say there was nothing dropped off at sea. Pretty much all the SEALs are dead. It came out that one SEAL was killed during the raid just last week. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's new information. I think I remember Obama saying and taking credit for killing bin Laden without any tragedies. But
let me just say this. There are many lies wrapped around that operation.
Yeah.
And I would not trust anything, and this is based on information I'm getting as well. I would not trust anything you hear in the media, including the date that operation took place, including the method of burial, including even the target. I wouldn't trust anything about that.
No.
Period. And that's a word of caution. By the way, you want to talk about some things that are outrageous and kind of a symptom, or not a symptom, but something that is important in the context of things happening in America. Senate intern, a sex offender.
Oh, yeah.
Folks,
and they held off until after the election.
Exactly. Senator Robert Menendez employed an unpaid intern in his Senate office, an illegal immigrant who was a registered sex offender. Now, okay, so there's so much wrong with that whole sentence I just said. I don't even know where to begin. A registered sex offender, an illegal immigrant, working as an unpaid intern for Senator Robert Menendez in Washington, D.C., and they, in the Homeland Security Department, instructed Janet Napolitano instructed federal officers not to arrest him until after Election Day. Where is the justice in this country? Where? I mean,
there is none.
Exactly.
There is none. And I'm going to send this to you in an email right now. TSA moves to Sovietize internal travel. And just posting the link
here.
Okay,
folks, you see, and let me, if I can go off a little bit here. those of you listening, and boy, I really want to hear from people who are listening that think it's okay to be groped and to be nuked at airports. Because those of you who think that, well, guess what? You're going to be groped and nuked at checkpoints spread out throughout the country and molested in travel like East Berlin. Okay, like it's Soviet style, as you said, Joe. Is this going to be your line in the sand? I mean, are you going to allow your wife, your daughter, your mom to be touched, groped, molested by the TSA, not only at airports, but on the roads? Is this what you want?
You should have that email
I got it.
with you.
I got
it. Wendy McElroy, writing for the Dollar Vigilante, has uncovered a TSA move to extend its airport Gestapo zone to the nation's mass transit system and highways. And I actually was reading a PDF on this today. I just downloaded it to the computer here. High Priority Technology Needs, I think it was called. But they here they say in page number 71,431 of volume 77, number 231 of the Federal Register, constitutes a preliminary step towards systematically expanding TSA's authority from airports to highways and every other means of travel. The effort will eliminate the ability to travel anonymously around the country and remove one of the last remaining differences between the U.S. and a total police state. The total police state you experience at airports wants to spill into roads and bus stops on subways and trains, or rather, the TSA wants to solidify and spread the fledgling and erratic presence it already has here. The application for funding submitted to the Office of Management and Budget explains that the TSA seeks to establish the current state of security gaps and implemented countermeasures throughout the highway mode of transportation by posing questions to major transportation asset owners and operators. Data collected for major transportation asset owners and operators will then allow the agency to provide focused resources and tools to enhance the overall security posture within the surface transportation community. In addition to examining the security-related assets of the long-haul trucks, the TSA is moving to conduct on-site assessments with public agencies that run buses, rail transit, long-distance rail, and less common types of services such as cable cars, inclined planes, automated guideway systems, and here, as the Government Security News reported on December 3rd, that's what they reported.
But the author of this points out, states that the Constitution does not specifically protect the right to travel.
Yes.
Okay, come on.
Protect the right to travel unmolested.
The word travel, though, or its equivalent, does not appear in the document, meaning the Constitution, except to guarantee the right of Congress members to travel back and forth from work. But this is taking this just a bit way too far. And again, my question is, you accept, or my statement perhaps is, you accepted it, allowed it, permitted it. I'm not talking to the people who have stood up against it, but those people.
We all have, to an extent, allowed some of this because we didn't know until we knew. If we knew and then didn't do anything.
Once we knew, and see, that's the difference. Look, I was the biggest neocon, and I'll admit that. I was, hey, yeah, go for it, whatever. We've got to stop the terrorist threat. But bam, once you start looking into things and doing the research, and once you investigate and research and find out you're being sold a bill of goods, a lie, and then despite knowing that this is an attempt for conditioning and control, the TSA at airports is not about security, it's about conditioning and control. Once you know that and still allow yourself, or even more egregiously, your loved ones, to be subjected to a dehumanizing act, then in my view, you are guilty of facilitating this monstrous activity. And look, we've got to stop this. Everyone has got to get together. we've got to say no. We will not submit. We will not comply. Whether it's at the airport or the bus terminal or on the highway or at some event, the TSA agents are not commissioned law enforcement officers. They are not. They have no law enforcement training. Do you realize that, folks? They have no law enforcement training, unless, of course, they happen to be working for a police force and then switch to the TSA for reasons I would never figure out. So that's what's going on.
Also, in other news, MSNBC targets Drudge as a race baiter, says he keeps Secret Service busy. On MSNBC this afternoon, network personalities and contributors Mark Bashir, Goldie Taylor, and the one-worded torture condemned the Drudge Report for featuring a story on the N-word being used over and over 100 times in the new movie Django Unchained, which stars Jamie Foxx. If I live 1,000 years, Matt Drudge will never become an arbiter for me of what is racially unacceptable in this country. I think that his site and those that feed onto it and from links to it, they make an awful lot of money from this.
All Drudge is
so
a page of
reporting
links
on what is news, and because of their reporting, they are racist.
That's and folks, please understand what's going on here. Okay, this is so important.
It's irresponsible, according. It's dangerous.
Look.
If you look at the president, if you look at the Secret Service, the number of assassination threats that come into the White House, either by phone or email or internet, it keeps the Secret Service busy, she said. It's absolutely racist. And you know what? Ban Drudge. Ban computers.
Yeah, the computers, they type themselves. They type messages themselves.
This coming from MSNBC, the most racist news organization in the country. So no surprises there.
Look, you've got to understand what's taking place here. And this I will have to part company with Lindsey Williams on about not wanting chaos. Perhaps the globalist elite don't want chaos or rioting, but I'll tell you one thing. Obama and his minions do want chaos. They are fomenting this chaos. And I received information from my DHS source who said, yeah, of course they're expecting a civil war. They're expecting a revolution in this country, and they're actually fomenting it. Even if Obama won, this is before the election, they were prepared if Obama lost, of course, for riots and what have you. But according to my source, even if Obama won, they were preparing and expecting for riots and social and racial divide. Well, they are the very people who are fomenting this type of activity. Why? To divide and conquer. This is a way to destroy the United States from within. And this does match the 1958 communist goals that were read into the congressional record in 1963. This is what's taking place. Communism, however, is just a mere stepping stone toward this one world governance that's going on in America.
Interestingly, in 1969, Dr. Richard Day said this about in the future about travel. Travel will become very restricted. People would need permission to travel, and they would need a good reason to travel. If you did not have a reason for your travel, you would not be allowed to travel, and everyone would need ID. Later on, some sort of device would be developed to implant under the skin that would be coded specifically to identify the individual.
Yeah, well,
Rockefeller insider Dr. Day from 1969.
How prophetic. And certainly no one is going to be taking any implants. No one I know is going to be taking any implants bodily. And we can argue, however, that the cars, especially the new cars with the black boxes, the crash detection devices, which are favorable. Those are a good thing, except when they're not, except when they're turned into a device to be used for surveillance purposes, which they are, and there's even admissions to that extent, to that fact. So we're not talking about conspiracies and conspiracy theories. We're talking about fact. We're talking about conspiracy fact.
That's right.
So
moving on, Florida has nears 1 million permits for concealed weapons.
Yeah, you don't think, folks, things are, you don't think people, no, people can feel. And I'm sure if you were listening to this broadcast, tell me you don't feel deep down in your spirit. Tell me that you don't feel deep down in your spirit that something is not right. I'm sure you do. You've got to feel that something is not right.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
We have, I don't know, 35 minutes left on the show. Folks, if you want to call in, 661-244-9839 is the number. We will take your calls. Anything you'd like to say on...
yeah, and especially, I do want to hear about people because millions are sensing something foreboding that's unfolding right now. Millions believe that some type of an event, but an event that nobody's really been able to really put their finger on, is on the horizon.
Yeah, and I want to say this. This one story I had: U.S. should automatically register voters.
Oh, I saw that.
Eric Holder.
Yeah, of course.
Attorney General Eric Holder said Tuesday that the U.S. election officials should register eligible voters automatically and take steps to reduce the long lines Americans encountered in national elections.
Pretty soon they'll vote for you.
I think he'll be promoting the voter ID card pretty soon.
Well, I think he already had a voter ID.
No, he was against that.
Not voter ID card. I'm talking motor voter. There you go. Thank you, motor voter.
Yeah, he goes on to say modern technology provides ways to address many of the problems that impede the efficient administration of elections. This is interesting coming after the election day where he fought tooth and nail to make sure nobody had to show ID. People could vote 6 times and the dead could vote in every state, city, and county, to the point where over 100 counties had all votes for Obama. Very interesting.
Statistically, that's really not possible. And you know how many people have yelled, screamed, and what's our line of defense for that? It's the judges. And is there any redress with the judiciary, especially when they are appointed, when federal judges are appointed? Look how far the Obama identity issue got us. It didn't get anywhere because of the level of corruption at the judiciary. You lose the judiciary, you lose your country. I mean, simply put, if you cannot get a fair trial or a fair hearing in a federal court, you've lost. And certainly, if you can't have honest elections, you've lost the country. At which point, folks? At what point? When are people going to wake up and start and taking it to the streets? And you know, and I see it too. There's attempts, and I mentioned this earlier. I alluded to this earlier. There are attempts to silence us. I'm just wondering how many others are in that position. The attempts to silence
people being silenced.
People, yeah, right. You know, I received a notice today saying that our website contained graphically violent and objectionable content, and it was a very vague warning.
Is it one of the pictures of Janet Napolitano you put up there?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Sorry.
No, you know something, but see, these warnings like that are not done automatically. There is actually somebody behind that, you know, reporting your website. And of course, we've got nothing objectionable, nothing violent, nothing graphic, nothing racist, nothing. But see, this is the attempts right now. These are the attempts right now to silence people like us. So our website is being monitored and attacked. The anti-bias, another complaint. Religious intolerance against the Islamic religion. Okay, not that's a real complaint, and warning: if you continue to violate that, we will no longer host your site. And of course, GoDaddy took us back in June. GoDaddy said, we don't want to host your site. And it's amazing because there's nothing but factual information on an intellectual discourse. No rants, no editorials. It's just automatic information or intellectual information, factual information that is provided. And then, of course, we've got people that are attacking our radio program by coming in and saying... attempting to cause racial issues, and then of course the platform in which we broadcast comes in and monitors everything we say and everything that's typed in the chat room.
Yeah, they have a chat. We have the log of the chat for the whole night. They have the log, the ISPs, who signed in, what they said.
Right.
And yesterday there was an actual person in here from Blog Talk Radio because of the people wanting to screw up the show.
What they'll do is they'll come in, let's say John Smith, who doesn't like the fact that we're talking about the global conspiracy. That's John Smith. So he'll come in and he'll type the N-word 55 times. Well, then what he'll do is he'll take a screen capture of that, send it to for example, Blog Talk Radio, and then they come on because John Smith, the very person that typed that word, said, "Hey, look at this! Look, they're this is how the and see the reason again. It's not because woe is us, poor us, but see and I've been getting reports from other." Especially Christian-based talk show hosts who are experiencing the same thing. This is war going on right now. This is attempted censorship. And once again, I'm not saying this for any other reason than to let you folks know exactly what's going on and how they're going to attempt to censor the truth from getting out there. And look what happened in Michigan. With that Fox guy, with that Fox reporter. That was Michigan, right? Yesterday?
Michigan or Detroit
or Wisconsin, whatever. Well, Detroit,
Michigan, yeah,
right. But
Michigan or New York. Sorry,
no, I think it was Michigan. But the fact of the matter is, they bait these people. No, I'm not saying the reporter baited them. I'm saying the in this case the union people went out. And started tearing down the tent. The guy tried to stop. The reporter tried to stop him from tearing down the tent. And of course, you even lay just a hand, or even appear to lay a hand, and bang, you get smacked around, and then you deserve it. If you go in the various forums, you can see the level of hatred that is building and building and building and building and building. And folks, we're going to see it break open in this country.
With that, we're going to go to the phones. We got Chad coming on first. Chad, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hi, guys. Thanks for letting me call in and speak to you. Doug, I wanted to answer your question you had about the pentagram thing that's going on.
Yes.
You said what is the spirit behind that?
Exactly.
Even a lot of the Satanists really don't understand what that means, but if you look, a lot of them, if you research this, there is a letter associated with each point on that star. In each letter is spells Leviathan. It's LVPN. It's Leviathan, which is the great snake, which is a Ouroboros. It's a celestial. It's unfortunately, it's the same thing that they're talking about in the Mayan calendar and all that. It's a timing. It's a calendar. It's simply what it means. It's about a time and place. And so, do you remember the demon that was confronted Jesus in the cemetery says, "Are you here to cast us down before our time?" You remember that? Cast us out before our time, to destroy us before our time. Do you remember that? These spirits know that there's a clock and a time, and that's what the pentagram represents. It's a time. It's a period designated in time. They understand it better than most people do. That's what these symbols represent. That's what the Giza pyramids, the ziggurats, all of this, their alignment with the stars. That is their reason for it. It's to track time.
Okay, but
so when that.
Let me ask this question, though. Okay, let me ask you this question because you seem to know a lot about this. The average person, just the average guy, like me, I'm an average guy, just doing what I do. Suddenly, in my wildest imagination, I cannot imagine me carving a pentagram or drawing a pentagram on a piece of paper, let alone carving it on my son or offspring. Is there some sort of what's going on behind this?
It's demonic. It's demonic. The person who that body is a temple of is no longer the master of it. Okay? The scriptures tell us that if you enter into a house and bind the strong man there, then who has control of that house? It's the man who bound him. The Lord himself says our body is a temple. It's a place where either we can allow him to be in control of, or there are evil spirits. We have doors. These spiritual things, when our eyes are a window to the soul, these things that we feast our eyes on, the things that we allow to come into our ears, if we allow them to reside there, if we focus our attention on them, it gives power over the control of our lives. Our flesh is in agreement with these evil spirits because it's fallen. It gives pleasure. And so when we allow those things into our lives and into our hearts and they begin to control our actions, then we give up a part of our lives and part of our control. When you get to the extent that this man has, then he's no longer in control of himself. It's the spirits that are in him that do this. And they speak about the time because they know that there is a designated time. It's their boast.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me, the way you explain that now. It's not somebody just, walking around, going to work, coming home, doing their normal thing. Yeah. At some point, this guy had to invite or otherwise allow that.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Now that makes sense.
We have to agree at some point. And the adversary and the angels, they have rank just like what we do. I mean, lesser and stronger. I mean, lust and these things, they are very powerful forces in life. Okay. Look at the havoc it's wreaking on our nation. So these things are allowed to take over your life. They carry out their desire. They are coming out of the woodwork. I mean, with these quote-unquote zombie killings and things of that nature. They're rallying right now. These things that they're doing are rallying cries. They're celebrating the brief time that they are going to have to be free to do what they want to do, as the Lord gives people over into their lusts and their desires. He says he'll let them have their desires because they love not the truth. And, they're going to have, and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of the wickedness that's going to be reveled in when, as these people gain influences, gain more control over that which is in public.
Wow. Okay. So we can. Go ahead. We can. So if I hear you correctly, because of the time in which we live and the appointed time, we can expect to see and hear more of this. Okay. Well, that's a reassuring thought.
But the Lord himself said he appointed the time. Now, there are a lot of things we don't know what the appointed time is, but it's not because it's not foreseeable, just as the warnings were given in the scriptures. You go back to the very beginning, the very first book in Genesis. It says what the stars are given for what? For times, for seasons, for days, in signs. 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 Right. The word says it's a sign. So he designed it. The clock, it's our celestial clock, and it's so perfect, it's so beautiful. Man can't mess with it. You can adjust your calendars all you want. You can change them all you want. Try moving a star around.
Yeah, okay. I get that now. Thank you. That makes perfect sense. All right. And you connected it to Scripture.
Yeah, the word says, he came at the appointed time, the perfect time. We're told that there are days. Now, we aren't always given the exact days, but for those who ask, the Lord can show us when we're coming close. The signs in the skies, you talked about it yourself, since the transit of Venus.
Yes.
There also was an eclipse that happened within, I think, a week after that. We had another one that just took place. There are the blood moon tetrads coming up over the next 3 years. All these things are warnings to us. You know when the last time the blood moon tetrads appeared in triplets?
No, I don't.
Well,
when? No.
When Israel was formed as a nation in 1948.
The last time what appeared in triplets?
Blood moon tetrads. It's when there is a solar and lunar eclipse that come in a grouping of 3.
You know what? And okay, so caller, then help me work through this, because this is something I was talking about, and we were talking about here the last several days. If we're right, and we're doing some research about the powers, the globalist people, and the for example, the globalists and the elite, the very people Lindsey Williams talks about and others talk about. Okay, right. Now the Olympics this year, to me, there was some. If you watch the Olympics, or at least watch the opening, closing ceremonies, and the okay, there's something about that was just not right. And if you look, go ahead.
It was a ritual. It really was an opening ceremony because of the time we're in. I don't know if you were aware of this, or that the Olympics took place during the what is called Tish B'Av for Israel. It's the week of calamity.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, and you think about how far the Olympic calendar has to go in order for it to fall on that time this year.
Right, and many other things. For example, Prince Charles's birthday, or I think it was his birthday, the Queen's Jubilee, and other things that involve bloodlines and royalty and the global. And when you mix all of that together.
And in all fairness to Pastor Lindsey, I mean, I'm sure he is absolutely right about what those elites believe, but the elites themselves are deceived. I mean, they are fed into their pride. They are fed into their pride and everything. The adversary is not for them any more than he's for us. You know, and he's not one who's going to share power either. He thinks he's God. So as soon as he has himself in place and the things in place he does for the time that he's in, they're going to be cut off quicker than that we will.
You know, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cheer it. I mean,
yep.
He'll come into power, and the first thing he's going to do is put these guys in prison and cut off their head. The world will cheer it and welcome him.
Oh. Wow, that's a happy thought. But you know, when you study this and when you look at this and try to figure things out, try to see where things are in this smoke and mirrors and this matrix, you know, you've got to address issues like that. Despite its, you know. Yeah.
And you know, I'm just as guilty as the rest. I mean, the information is there to be seen. There are many wise men who see this information. You know, speaking of wise men and timing of everything, what was it that led the wise men of the East to Israel at Jesus' birth? A star. How did they know to look for it? Well, these people are the descendants in the school of Daniel.
Okay, all right.
They learned how to watch the stars. It's called the Masoret. They learned how to gauge time and watch the stars from Daniel. That's how they knew.
Okay, all right. That makes okay. I can see where you're going.
The answers are in the scriptures, but we have to dig them out. It says that it's the pleasure of God to hide a thing. It's the joy of the king to search them out.
That's a wow. Okay, very
excellent
good
statement. Yeah, it's so true. Even reading books of the Bible, you are revealed more and more each time.
Yeah, I want to thank you very much for that clarification, because that does put some things in perspective, and it helps with the discourse when we talk about this to really understand the mindset. So I want to say thank you very much for that.
It's a good place to start. Yeah, it's a good place to start, and as more comes out and these things kind of questions come up, I'll be more than happy to toss in my 2 cents. Just so that others can dig it themselves.
Well, exactly. All right, man. Thank you very much. Thanks for the call. Yeah, very interesting call, Joe. And I think that as we search for the truth, the real truth, we are going to enter into some areas of discomfort, things that are just not really the easiest thing to really to get into. And it's just, but that's part of the search of the truth. And then we have to put on our spiritual armor when we do these investigations and research. Sometimes we have to tread in certain areas, and boy, and one thing that I have to say, especially about the people that are like people that Pastor Williams was talking about, it's not important what we believe; it's important what they believe. See, and that's the thing. The people who are running this, the most elite of the elite, the string pullers, they've got a belief system, and it's not important what we believe as us as normal people. But when we look at them, it doesn't matter what we believe. It matters what they believe. Much like if you look at the motive of a criminal, if you're an investigator, you look at the motive. It doesn't matter what you as the investigator believes. No, it matters what they believe, the perpetrator or perpetrators believe. That's what counts, and that's how you have to approach and look at this, at least in my estimation.
Oh, that's right. Moving on here, we're going to Vernon. Thanks for your patience, Vernon. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Oh, God bless you. How's everyone doing?
Well, let us check.
Excellent. And I want to say I saw your YouTube video. You did a good job on that.
Thank you very much, Joe. Check your pacemaker, because I'm checking mine right now.
I got to tell you, man, the old nitro is right next to me, along with a cup of espresso. No, I'm just kidding. What's on your mind tonight?
We're in the same boat. No, I was just listening to you. I was on earlier when Lindsey Williams was on, and I've had pulled up Lindsey Williams about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Initially, I had to leave because my program associate was having their program, so I had to leave after the first hour. But what he was saying in the first hour was extremely profound. And I was listening to that, and then I was just listening to what you had to say in terms of it's not what we believe, but what they believe. And if I can correct you on one little thing.
Sure.
It's not what I believe. It's not what I believe. It's not what they believe. Think about something. We have only but 2 powers in the universe, that of God and that of the enemy. And if it's not of God, than it is of the enemy. And these elites are of the enemy. So the bottom line is I have to go with what God is saying. Now, I was listening to Lindsey Williams, and he said the elites, this is their program. This is what they want. This is what they're doing. But the bottom line is God is still in control. And as we look around our world today, what is going on within our own country, with what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening within our earth, be it, the dead, the beasts of the field, the sea, the air are dying. Okay? The earth is off its axis. God is still in control. And when we look at all evidence, it's saying one thing. Christ told the disciples, when you see these things begin to happen, to do what? Look up.
Look up. Yep.
Look up. And he said when it began to happen, and they've been happening for a while, the elitists have been trying to take control for a while. They got to the point now where they tell you what they're going to do, and you know what? They'll tell you there's nothing that you can do about it.
You know what, Vernon? They're laughing at us. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like Benghazi, okay, we see what takes place at Benghazi, and we see about the money, the economy. These people, the members of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, they're laughing at us.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And here's another issue that I have to address, because I got like a bunch of emails about this. When we talk about Benghazi, we talk about the Middle East, we talk about Islamic terrorism. There are websites out there that focus primarily, it's a very narrow focus on what the Muslims are doing. But you know what? They're tools of the Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral. They're tools. These Muslims are tools of the globalists. And not too many, and it's a shame because many good researchers are so narrowly focused on that Islamic component that they cannot see beyond that. It's
right.
So you're right, Vernon. But at the end of the day, at the very end of the day, you're exactly right, because there are two forces, good and evil. And you know what? You're exactly right. I mean,
okay. So, and the tools you mentioned a key word, tools, and one of the key tools that the enemy use is confusion.
Yes.
As long as we're sitting down here, we have this going on, we have that going on, and understand something, folks. When Christ gave us the signs to look for his coming, okay, it was not to have us overwhelmed with what is going on, but to enlighten us so that we could see that the Word of God is true, and so that we can measure when his time is near. The world right now, the entire world, they're upset. The Mayan prophecies, Michel Nostradamus, the elitists are taking control of the economy, and yada, yada, yada. Okay? This is the information we need, but we're not to dwell on it. We're to keep our focus and our attention and our love in the body of Christ. And we're supposed to keep our eyes on Jesus at all times, because he is our mediator. He is our director. He is our teacher. He is our all in all. And as a family in the body of Christ, okay, we're supposed to come together and support one another at all times. But let us not get so caught up, because the enemy comes as what? As an angel of light.
Yeah.
And he will deceive the very elect if it were possible. Oh, that's hallelujah.
Right. Oh, yes.
So
yes.
I'm just saying, family, let's just keep focused of what really is the truth. And the truth is the Lord Jesus Christ is on his way.
God bless you, Vernon.
Basically, that's all I wanted to say.
And praise God for that, because what a joyous occasion that will be in the victorious return. And see, Pete, Vernon, wait, Vernon, don't go. Let me ask you a question, all right? Because you have your own show. Let me just ask this question. This has been going through my head, and Joe and I have been talking about this, and we've been talking about this on air. What's the aversion about talking about Jesus, using the name, invoking the name Jesus? And when you do that, there seems to be this anger, this either an anger or an embarrassment or some aversion when the name Jesus is brought up. What's up with that?
I understand. Oh, hallelujah. Thank you, Doug. Hallelujah. There's so much power in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Satan cannot stand the name of Jesus. The demons in hell cannot stand the name of Jesus. This is how much power is invoked in the name of Jesus. When you're in the body of Christ and you plead the blood of Jesus, they got to flee. They have no win. They have no authority over you at no cost.
So it's the power.
It's
very
the power.
Good. Vernon, very good. I kind of figured that was the case. I wanted to get your take on it because that's where that's what I see. I see that they run from the power.
Yeah, they run from that power. The blood, you see, understand, when Christ died on the cross and he shared his blood, he gave you, he invoked, he put into you, okay? You're one, you're in union, okay? Just like the God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit are one in union. And when you come into the body of Christ, oh, Lord have mercy, you became one within that union.
Amen.
It's all It's all under the blood of Jesus Christ. And we're going to be talking about this tomorrow on my program tomorrow.
Conspiracy Files?
Conspiracy Files. Everyone
on Blog Talk. Yeah.
On Blog Talk Radio. Everyone is looking to the Mayan calendar. They're looking to, and you know what amazes me, Doug and Joe, is that people will spend hundreds of dollars listening to what it says about the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Hopi, Michel de Nostradam. They will spend hundreds of dollars to get this information. But the moment you say Jesus Christ, oh, you're fear-mongering.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you said that better than that. That's I was getting. That's what I wanted to get to. That fear-mongering. That whole element, that whole sentiment behind that. So you said it very eloquently. Vernon, God bless you, my friend. Thank you, my friend.
God bless you, gentlemen. And Doug and Joe, I hope you all join us tomorrow. Family, I hope you all join us tomorrow. I rearranged the show so that when the show is over, we can still come and hear Doug and Joe Hagmann, the Hagmann Reports, because you gentlemen do a fantastic job. Trust me.
God bless you, my friend.
We truly appreciate you.
We got to stick together.
Thank you, Vernon.
Are we going?
We cut him off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Vernon.
His show is 6 to 8 Eastern Time. Conspiracy Files right here on BTR.
Didn't mean to cut you off, Vernon. I know you can hear me, but
I want to try and sneak in one more phone call. We got about 2 minutes. Area code 615. We're coming to you now. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
All right, guys, I'll try to go fast. I know this is my first night listening to you guys, but I've been awake for a little bit over a year. I've gone to Bilderberg, done a few things like that, got in the Washington time zone there. But long story short, man, you need to call back these past two guys and maybe me if I deem worthy, but it's hard to, I wrote 5 pages of notes to say, and I'm throwing that all out right now and just freestyling, so. But yeah, I think you guys need to start a real network of people, patriots, that are all together as one unison. And, that would be something that, like how these other shows have their 24-hour network, then you have more time for ads and plugs and whatnot. I mean, have you guys ever thought about doing that, just creating a massive movement of people that are like-minded and, then maybe you can get big as Alex Jones or even bigger.
90 seconds.
I was looking on Alexa and your Homeland Security USA.com. It says your global rank is 66,000, and then the U.S. rank was like around 13,000. I mean, you could get in the top 5,000 if you guys did this right. There's only 1,200 sites that are linking in, and it says for the ages, the best are 45 to 54, which is probably what you guys are in, and then 55 to 64, and the worst are kids my age, 18 to 24, and obviously the 35 to 44, which is generally apathetic and party, just like kids my age. But there's also a lot of kids my age, I will say, that want to do something different and find some sources, but they just haven't tapped into the deeper connections in life and looking at Drudge Report every day like obviously you guys do. And also it's mainly females, maybe having more male voices. It says has children. No, I have children. Browse location. It says home versus work. More home. Okay. So obviously you can't listen to controversial radio at work. But
caller. Hold on a second. Look, we got about 20 seconds left of the program. Do me a favor. Go to HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on my email name. Send me an email with the subject line being show. SHOW, and then we'll dialogue off air.
And we got your number. We can call you after that email because you do have some good ideas. And we've reached the end of the show. I want to thank you so much for calling, and definitely contact us
tomorrow night. Russ Dizdar, 9:00 Eastern Time.
Yep, don't miss it with Steve Quayle. Have a good night, everybody, and God bless.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.